laying out the information for you and not pressing you.
Diamonds Direct, a guy-friendly jewelry store where you're always treated with respect.
The great thing about Diamonds Direct is they alleviate that stress.
So relax, guys. It's Diamonds Direct. We've got your back. Get directions and store hours now at diamondsdirect.com.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
It's Kevin and Query.
I throw, you catch. It's not that hard, okay? All right, get the out of here.
I'm going to talk a lot about drills and fundamentals.
Watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it.
On 93.5
Watch it.
and 107.5, The Fan.
Kevin's got his shirt on.
Tell you what, the warmth already, I can feel it in studio.
We've matured from yesterday.
Some body parts aren't necessarily at the same cutting of glass level.
Okay.
Just to kind of paint a picture here, which, you know, that's what we're doing on the radio medium. Good Friday morning to you. Typical Friday morning commute in from a weather and dreary standpoint. It's been that way pretty much all week long here in Indianapolis, so certainly keep an eye out for that as rain and wetness continues to be par for the course. And Jake Query last night, that defines March Madness. Two absolute classics to start the night and end the night, and then sandwiched in between. I think you call them a mid-major, right? Conference USA has not had a team in the Elite Eight since 2008. Florida Atlantic will be that, and you've got a team in UConn right now that I would say so far there hasn't been a more dominant team in the tournament. But again, to start the night, to end the night, two absolute classics. And when you have little rooting interest in the tournament, which for me, the state schools are gone, my bracket's toast, that's all I ask for. And we absolutely got that last night.
Yeah, I mean, the Gonzaga UCLA game, and I realize that people probably, maybe they don't, want to hear like why or how the pick and rolls that were being done to Gonzaga or to UCLA, or Drew Timme's electric start. He became the only player in NCAA history to score 20 points in 10 NCAA tournament games. That's a record, obviously, if he's the only. There are a million X's and O's we can break down or go, which is the way that oftentimes I simply go, which is to say that was a game of runs, and it was both exhilarating and kind of exhausting to watch because you're just like, oh my gosh. No, Kevin, 6 different times one of those two teams had control of the game.
Yeah, it was different than Michigan State, Kansas State. Michigan State, Kansas State was more of like, I'm throwing a blow at you, you throw a blow at me. Like 1-1-1, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Gonzaga, UCLA, it was more like, here comes a 2-round flurry from one of the teams, or a 3-round flurry from one of the teams. And then the other one regroups, and they have kind of a multi-round flurry back at you. Gonzaga was down 13 at half. They come back. They have a 10-point lead with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go. And I'm trying to think when CBS panned to Adam Morrison on press row, who is the color commentator for Gonzaga Radio. By the way, I thought Morrison looked great. You looked no trash stash. The hair looked very well groomed. Adam Morrison, which again, when you take off your shirt, I think now I become a judger of those sorts of things. And you
got a lot of critique of your physique.
Yeah, constructive criticism is how I've tried to look at the past 24 hours. Several offers from local gyms around the area. Thank you, I appreciate that. The Morrison camera shot was well-timed because, Jake, as we talked about all week long, the 17-year anniversary of Gonzaga blowing I think it was like an 8 or 9 point lead with less than a minute to go to UCLA in the Sweet 16. Morrison crying on the floor, a very iconic moment in NCAA tournament history. And last night, up 10 with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go, lo and behold, Gonzaga gives up that entire lead. UCLA hits a 3 after Drew Timme. I think it's fair to say he bricked 2 free throws. Like, he looked like nerves. I mean, it was barely grazing the rim on the first one, almost banked in the second one. He missed 2. UCLA comes down, hits a 3 after a timeout. Then Gonzaga goes down with 12 seconds to go. They don't throw it into Timmy.
Nope.
Instead, Julian Strawther, the Las Vegas native, shoots one from the logo. Good.
On the run, basically.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, did they think they had 4 seconds left?
I know. I think it was, this is going to be our best look. Let's run down and...
Can you imagine he misses that and Timmy, who had 36 and 13, doesn't touch the ball with 12 seconds to go in the game?
At that point, Strawther was 5 for 14, I believe, from the floor, 3 from 7 from three-point range. One of those shots that if it goes in, it was brilliant. If it doesn't, you're left with questioning. But here is what I thought in watching it. And I know that Purdue at the beginning of the year absolutely wiped the floor with Gonzaga. So right there, what I'm about to say sounds ridiculous. But with Florida Atlantic making last night's Elite Eight, that is the 58th different program to make the Elite Eight since Indiana last went. Purdue's one of them, obviously. Creighton or Princeton will make the 59th. San Diego State has a chance to be the 60th. 60 different programs that have been to an Elite Eight since Indiana. And I know that Indiana had a good year, and I know that Purdue had a very good year. What I watched last night, Kansas State late, Gonzaga and UCLA, and I do this isn't necessarily fact, it's just optical perception. I do the same thing in college football. When I watch the college football semifinals, I watch those teams and think that is a whole different level than what I'm used to seeing. And I have to admit, I'll say the Big Ten in general, even though Michigan State was one of the teams I was watching, it just felt like, whoa, this is a whole different level. Multiple guys can shoot from anywhere. There's not one or two Gonzaga, sure, Drew Timme had 36, right? UCLA, I get it. I mean, Vasquez was unbelievable in the first half in particular. But you feel like, Kevin, those teams just have scores or shooters all over the place, and they can do it in rhythm and at tempo and everything else, and it just feels like a different level of basketball.
I'm watching Kansas State, Michigan State, Jake, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Notre Dame and Butler beat each of these teams by double digits. Butler beat Kansas State by 12 this year.
Yeah, I mean,
Notre Dame beat Michigan State by like 20. I'm like,
long
what?
Year, right?
I'm like, what in the world? Yes, I mean, both those games, I think late November, early December. But absolute classics. And again, Kansas State, Michigan State got things started. And Marquise Noel, when you think about, and I thought the broadcast crew did a great job of describing, the Harlem kid and went to St. Patrick's High School and his Twitter handle's Mr. New York City, 2 Y's on the end of that. You're watching that game, you're watching his style, you're watching the flair he plays with, and I couldn't help but think of the Big East tournament, I guess over a decade ago now, and what Kemba Walker did in that building. And that start of the run for UConn that year. And you know what? Noel, he's got some Kemba aspect to it, but his ability to pass and the types of passes that he is willing and confident to throw. He had one in the first half that was, a bounce pass like between his legs in the middle of the lane. And then the one that deservedly so is getting, I think, a lot of playback is, him looking over at Jerome Tang late. Those two, trying to act like they're not on the same page with a certain play call. Yeah. And then, boom, backdoor to Keontae Johnson for the alley-oop. There is just a swagger to Marquise Noel's game. And again, I'm watching Kansas State last night, Jake, and I'm thinking, man, him and Nigel Pack were in the backcourt together last year.
Yeah, that's Nigel Pack. I mean, you got to think to yourself, I hate to say why transfer. He made a lot of money out of it. Maybe that's, NIL was, there's NIL perfectly exemplified, right? Because here's Although, did anybody think a year ago Kansas State would be this good?
Well, they were picked to finish last.
You know what I mean?
In the Big 12. Yeah. The first overtime game of the tournament, and obviously with Michigan State bowing out, the Big Ten, over the last 2 years in Elite Eights. 17 Big Ten teams have made the tournament the last 2 years, just 3 in the Sweet 16. And I did see a few people mention last night USC and UCLA, also future Big Ten teams, bowing out before the Elite Eight. Sam, you mind queuing up those clips from Gonzaga, UCLA? Jake, this one obviously ended late. I was fighting it a bit, but thankfully the entertainment of the game kind of helped get me to the finish line there. Again, Gonzaga down 13 at half. They take they come back, they take a 10-point lead with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go, and then just slowly trickled down their leg.
Trickled down their leg. Okay.
And the first highlight you will hear is Amari Bailey for UCLA taking the lead, completing that 10-point comeback, and then Julian Strother for Gonzaga hitting the eventual game winner.
Campbell outside, Bailey for the lead. Got it! Offensive glass. Chances are you'll get more than one opportunity. Strother for the lead. I mean, he's on the S in March Madness. That is a long shot. He took it from Reno, and he cashed in.
I still can't believe that he shot it.
Here's the thing. And maybe they answered to this, I don't know, because like you, I mean, at that point, you know, you're like, okay, I got to get up in 5 hours here. But was that a designed play, or was it, hey, if you're open, you got to pull, no matter when it comes in the set?
Mark Few, acted like after the game that Strother was the guy they wanted the ball in his hands. I did think he initially said we were trying to kind of get him downhill, trying to get him to the rim. It was a handoff, kind of a little handoff out there, and so he had a lot of momentum. He was the inbounder. I know a lot of people reference the Villanova game winner with Chris Jenkins, or the overtime, I guess, shot a couple of years ago in the national title game, and he just decided to pull. And again, it's not like they were in great offensive rebounding sort of position. Drew Timme definitely would not have gotten a touch on that possession. It was wild that he took that shot. And they were only down 1. It's not like they were even down 2, and there's some, plucky underdog that, hey, we're down 2, we're going to go for the win. They were down 1 at that point. Just an incredible shot. And obviously what those two teams did in the Final Four here a couple years ago, the Adam Morrison game, Gonzaga and UCLA continue to just have some unbelievable tournament highlights. And then, Jake, on the final play of the game, Tiger Campbell for UCLA, he almost hits like what is very reminiscent, I thought, of the Valpo play. I thought of the Bryce Drew play. They threw it into their big guy. He made a nice touch pass to Tiger Campbell, who, ironically enough, went to high school pretty close to Valpo, and he almost hit what would have sent the game into overtime, which at that point I think I would have thrown in the towel and just gone to bed.
Yeah. Did your wife say anything to you yesterday about having your shirt off all day?
She really did not mention that. She thankfully, don't think paid a lot of attention to the show.
Really?
Yeah.
Does she not listen to the program? Does she know what you do?
Yes, she does know what. Trust me, financially, she definitely knows what I do for a living. Yeah, she drove the kids to daycare, and I think Rosie was like just losing it and didn't want to listen to her father on the radio. So, yeah, finally at like 7 p.m., she was like, "Wait, you had your shirt off yesterday on the show?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "God," she just kind of shrugged her head. She's like, "I hope people enjoyed it."
What did you think of? Did it feel liberating to you? Did you enjoy it? Did you look back and?
Yeah, again, the airflow to the chest from 7 to 10 a.m. was not something I've experienced a whole lot here. It's certainly in public settings. Yeah, I appreciated that actions followed through on words. I don't think it will become a common occurrence, though. There was some very constructive criticism from some people out there. I did see a side-by-side with E.T.,
That was pretty strong.
I thought it was very well done.
It was.
I forget the name of the person that created that, but yeah, nice little pick stitch there. So, as you said very accurately, Jake, yesterday, the old friend that was metabolism is clearly not as effective as it once was for me.
Just wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've seen that a lot here.
It's amazing when I think
as I've
back,
reached my 30s.
You know, I think I told you, Kevin, I was at North Central on I don't know, Wednesday maybe, and I went back to speak to a few of the classes. And now at North Central, the lunch periods when I was in high school, you had split periods 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, because one of those would be when you'd take lunch. So you'd either have lunch period 5, and then you had to go to an academic class, the same class 4, 6. So you split halfway through the day or that period and went to lunch. Or you had lunch 6, and you had a 4, 5 class, then lunch 6, then a 7, 8 class, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the classes I was speaking to, I'm like, so did you guys just come from lunch? And they're like, yeah. And I said, well, I realize you're probably going to get drowsy here in about 15 minutes, because if you're like me, lunch was a honey bun, French fries, an orange drink, and maybe a plate of cookies if there was room at the end, right?
I know. It's kind of funny to think like, oh, yeah, getting ready to play a big football game tonight, and, you know, here's Johnny just downing 17 cookies before the game.
And, I mean, but your body at that age that stuff just melts off of you.
It does. And, boy, no, there's zero melting whatsoever on the body of Kevin Bowen at this point here at the age of 33. So, yeah, I'll keep
down for sure.
I'll keep the clothing on today.
Okay, believe me, I speak for a lot of people in saying, good plan.
Sam actually texted me and was like, are you going shirt off again? He seemed like he preferred that.
Lose my number.
That was a nice Adam Schefter reference. Right there.
By the way, speaking of numbers, those still alive in our numbers game. And again, the way this works, $100, you're going to get dinner at Jay's Lobster over at the Garage in Bottle Works. The best lobster rolls, lobster bisque shrimp that you're going to get in Indianapolis, East Coast Sea Shack right here in the Circle City. Dave is still alive with Miami. They're in action tonight, obviously. Raphael still in the running. Oh, he has Princeton. Raphael is our first winner. He's a guaranteed winner because no double-digit seed is going to get any further than Princeton already did. Doug alive with Creighton. Eric alive with Kansas State. Matt is still going with Alabama.
Who's got Asheville?
Graham with Xavier. That's the big one. Daryl with Florida Atlantic still going. And Scotty, who had UNC Asheville, is still alive for largest blowout. 33-point blowout for UNC Asheville. That is still the largest in the tournament. UConn with Paul still alive as well.
Jake, a game that we probably haven't taught. Well, I guess the other two games. How about UConn's run so far? They have beaten their three opponents by 23, 15, and 24. It was great that the first game went into overtime because UConn Arkansas, no one wanted to watch that in the second half. UConn has just got a bunch of skilled guards and wings around their big man, Mr. Sinoga. He looks like he could start at left tackle for the Colts. And then the other game, Florida Atlantic, 62-55 over Tennessee. They were down 5 at half. Can you imagine what the Villages are probably doing down in Florida celebrating the Florida Atlantic win?
My sister just went to the Villages.
Really?
Yeah. Enjoyed it.
Not to get too permanently, or?
No.
Okay.
The Villages must be pretty cool because she went and now she's like, I'm going permanently.
All in. She's all in. Well, happy hour in Boca is going to be nuts today for the retirees down there.
What time's happy hour in Boca?
On a Friday, Jake, it's 3:07. 3:07 fast. John L. Davis from Gary, their leading scorer last night. He had 15. So Dusty May, the Greene County native, the manager to Bob Knight. He had some great words about Mike Davis this week. You could tell he's very close still with Mike Davis. And Todd Abernathy, Clay Junior High legend, is also on their staff. So a lot of Indiana connections with Florida Atlantic. They just kind of grinded it out. Like it almost seemed like that's the style Tennessee would like. Tennessee is, Dusty May made the joke earlier in the week of, hey, we got to watch Australian rules rugby and all this. And it just seemed like Florida Atlantic kind of out-toughed them, really.
Didn't it kind of feel like, especially at half, Tennessee's up at the half, and they even talked about it on the television broadcast at halftime of one of the other games. I can't remember what the other game would have been. That would have been at half while they were playing. I guess game one.
Yeah, it was
Michigan State Xavier.
Well, yeah, Florida Atlantic was the second game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So at half of the Michigan State Xavier game, they did like the look in, and at that point Tennessee was up 5 or something early. And you could tell that everybody was kind of anticipating, like, yeah, midnight's probably coming for Cinderella here. And then there they go.
I don't know if I can name 4 teams in Conference USA.
Ooh, it's good. Okay, pull it up. I'm going to try. You ready? See, this is interesting because, I mean, I absolutely could have 5 years ago, but now they're all like in most of the schools that I think of as Conference USA are the American Athletic Conference. But do you have it up in front of you?
Again, the first Conference USA team to make the Elite Eight since Memphis, who made the national title, right? 2008?
Yeah,
that's when they lost to Kansas.
Memphis is now in the American Athletic.
Correct. So, yeah,
okay.
yeah, I've got it.
I'm going to go with Southern Miss.
No.
Okay. Tulsa.
No.
Oh, boy. We'll go like 2 more guesses here before we fold the towel. Murray State. They might be Ohio Valley.
Murray State, I think, is in the MoVal now. By the way, did you see Valpo fired their coach? Speaking of MoVal.
Did they?
Yeah. Stanford dude. Lodich, Matt Lodich. You think Bryce Drew would come back to that?
I was going to say back to Bryce Drew again.
Or
right?
does he look at Grand Canyon and say, nope, I'm good here? North Texas, Jake, UAB, Middle Tennessee State, Charlotte, Rice, Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech.
Western Kentucky, I should know. They were the Sun Belt originally.
UTEP, Texas San Antonio. Yeah, it's
that's
I think Dusty was talking about it with J&V of like our road trips are like long.
Well, you know that sounds kind of like what the Summit League was, which I've always said is the like screw it drawer. You know when you're moving.
Boy, that was screw it drawer. Jeez, boy.
Okay, when you're.
I think I'm keeping my shirt on today.
I'd say that for lack of a better phrase. When you're moving and you're boxing things up, and you've got the box, and it's like
Didn't know if that was a Villages reference you were making there.
Kitchen dishes in this box, and bedroom bedding in this box, and whatever else, and then you get all the way down after you're moving, you're boxing everything up, and you have that hodgepodge that's like there's a tape measure, like an old whatever, like portable speaker. Just like 7 random things. And you're like, you know what, just throw all that stuff in that last box. Let's just get out of here. That's kind of what those leagues feel like. When conference realignment took place, then there were like 20 schools that was like, what do we do with these?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, screw it. Just throw them all together in this and call it some pre-existing league and let's go. My buddy Greg Simmons has the most unbelievable ability. He's like a savant with that. You can name any Division I school in the country, and he will tell you not only what league they're in, what league they used to be in. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm used to, maybe for me, but certainly not present day. So looking ahead to Saturday night, it'll be Florida Atlantic and Kansas State. That is the first game. So one of those teams, of course, will go to the Final Four. 6:09 tip from Madison Square Garden. Early line is Kansas State -2.5, favored by 2.5. Then the final game on Saturday, approximately 8:50, it will be UConn and Gonzaga from Las Vegas. UConn, a slight favorite in that one. I kind of forgot this until they mentioned it last night. Jake, this is Kansas State's 3rd Elite Eight since 2010. The last 2 times they've been in the Elite Eight, though, a team that you would classify as a mid-major beat them to go to the Final Four. Butler, of course, in 2010.
Yep.
And in 2018, it was Sister Jean and Loyola.
And you said this is the 3rd time?
3rd time they've been in the Elite Eight. And
now, you want to know who beat them in the other time?
I guess you'd classify Florida Atlantic as a mid-major.
I would agree with that. So 3rd time in school history in an Elite Eight.
No, I don't know about that. It's just 3rd time since 2010.
Oh, since 2010. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I was getting 4th time then of the last. Because the other time I can recall where Kansas State went. And Greg Gumbel would have been confused by this because last night when Kansas State won, did you see Greg Gumbel's snafu?
I don't recall it.
As Kansas State was celebrating, Greg Gumbel said, I actually have it in my phone. I tweeted it out, but I won't play it over my phone over the air. That sounds terrible. He said, and the celebration is on in the locker room of the Kansas Jayhawks. Moving on.
Boy, that's a bit awkward.
For Kansas State fans have got to be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and Kansas is busy watching Arkansas, who beat them, lose by 50.
Kansas State in 88 defeated and upset by 8th-seeded Kansas en route to Danny and the Miracles winning the national title.
Yeah, Kurt goes, I think Gonzaga took the three, thinking open shot. If he misses, still plenty of time to get an offensive rebound. To me, Jake, it was more just Drew Timme didn't touch the ball.
He was electric, though,
He
man.
had 36 and 14, and UCLA had no answer for him.
He hit a three. Drew Timme early hit a three. It was only his fourth three of the year. His second one of 2023 after New Year.
Looking ahead to tonight, I think you got – I know the spreads are a little bit bigger tonight, but I think you've got some really good matchups. San Diego State, Alabama will get things underway at 6:30. The other 1 versus 5 matchup will follow at 7:15. That is Houston and Miami. 9 o'clock, you've got Alec Pierce's brother, Caden Pierce, for Princeton. He takes on Creighton. That is approximately at 9. And then as far as the lines are concerned, and I think it's a great matchup, Xavier and Texas to close out the night. Again, those games from Kansas City. The other region will be the Yum Center in Louisville, San Diego State, Alabama, Princeton, and Creighton.
Have you been to the Yum Center?
I have, yes. Beautiful.
It is a nice arena.
Yep, state of the art.
I worry about the Pacers sometimes in the Yum Center.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, really?
Mm-hmm. It's been a concern of mine for a while. That or Seattle, Nashville, Louisville. Let's get them all an NBA team soon, please.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, you're certainly very plugged into that, but I don't. I hope you're wrong.
Oh, I don't. I mean,
I hope you're really wrong. Sorry.
That's the earliest, most preliminary gut feeling ever. Yeah, there's not like some, not anything substantial on that. I did see yesterday, Al Lang Stadium in Tampa. There was a tweet sent out of a picture of Hank Aaron playing at Al Lang Stadium in Tampa, and back when they used to play spring training games there. So I looked up the history of Al Lang Stadium in Tampa, which was built in 1947. It seats 7,000 people. It is 76 years old now, and it is home in the 18th largest metropolitan area of the United States. It is home to a soccer team that plays in the same league as the Indy 11, who wants $1 billion stadium. Seems like that might be a bit of an overshoot.
Notice you've made more eye contact with me in the first segment today than you made all yesterday. Any reason?
Trying to recapture that chemistry, Kevin.
Yeah, well, thank you. Shannon.
Trying to wake up, too.
I now feel a little bit of, I guess, what Shannon has felt maybe prior. The Pacers tonight, they got a back-to-back coming up this weekend in Boston, in Atlanta. We'll see if Tyrese Halliburton returns to the lineup. He is questionable. 9 to go. The Pacers are lurking. We'll see if they can make a push here for the play-in. And we do have our first Indiana player into the transfer portal. We'll touch on that as well. Greg Rakestraw going to join us at 8 o'clock. The state finals tomorrow over at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I do want to ask Rake about Micah Shrewsbury. You would think if anyone has had some crossover with Micah Shrewsbury here in the state, Rake would be that. I didn't realize that Micah's father, Jake Bill Shrewsbury, was Bart Peterson's deputy mayor.
Really?
And I bring that up because Jack Swarbrick, of course, the athletic director at Notre Dame, tons of ties from an Indianapolis standpoint, not necessarily like all political, but has been heavily involved in bringing the Super Bowl and Indiana Sports Corp and all of that. So curious just kind of what that relationship is like and if that played a role in Notre Dame having a nice first impression with the Shrewsbury family. A whole lot to get to here on this Friday morning. Again, it is dreary, it is ugly, it is wet, it is rainy. That is par for the course for this week. Kevin Bowen, Jake Query, Sam Fritz, one more time here this week.
The Ride with JMV.
Ball State head coach Michael Lewis joins us. I was kind of curious, how do you handle the transfer portal?
For us, I think we got to learn how to navigate it to best build a roster here at Ball State to be competitive year in and year out. So we're in there looking for players that fit our program, and then obviously we've got somebody in there that we're trying to help chase their dream of playing college basketball at the highest level.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Drought, war, and rising food prices have devastated families in poverty. $50 provides a food kit to feed a family for a month. Just text the word radio to 97646.
Everyone knows that soaking in Epsom salts can make you feel better. Now imagine soaking in Epsom salts in a Royal Spa hot tub.
Ah, Royal Spa.
Doing more in the community means that I get out and I volunteer.
Hi, I'm Hannah Yeagerbush here at Teachers Treasures, and we nominated David Barabee because he's such a great volunteer leader. He does so much for us to make our mission possible to serve teachers in Marion County.
And I'm Jiffy Lube owner Steve Sanner. At Jiffy Lube, we are proud to support Hoosier charities that use their vehicles to do more to make Indiana a better place to live.
My vehicle really allows me the ability to be where they need me. Either downtown, at the store, or out on a route, or working for the mobile operator.
Jiffy Lube of Indiana provides all of our Do More winners with free vehicle maintenance for a year. Because now at Jiffy Lube, our trained technicians do more to keep vehicles like theirs and yours on the road. Brakes, tires, batteries, and more. As well as Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
Jiffy Lube accepts competitors' coupons, so you don't have to choose between saving a few dollars versus treating your vehicle to Jiffy Lube's award-winning service. Click on JiffyLubeIndiana.com for a Jiffy Lube near you.
Dr. Trudy Fleer here with the 5G Home Recovery Podcast. Let's talk about mobile users getting priority over T-Mobile home internet users, shall we? You don't know them. Why should they take your internet? I get it. We're raised to share. But always coming in second, paying to be taken advantage of? No thank you. With Xfinity, there's only one priority, and that is YOU. So come on, people, say yes to Xfinity. Learn more at xfinity.com/TMOFax.
Now through April 23rd, new customers can get started with 200 megabit per second Xfinity Internet with Wi-Fi equipment included. It's all just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. Or learn more about speeds up to a gig. That's up to 36 times faster than T-Mobile home internet. Go to xfinity.com/TMOFax, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Actual speeds vary.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Lowe's MVP's bonus days are back for pros. Right now, buy a DeWalt 20-volt Max Power Stack Battery 2-pack at $199 and get a select DeWalt Bear tool free. Plus, earn 3 times the bonus points on all Metabo HPT tools and products. Shop even more savings and bonus points offers during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid 3/20 through 3/31. Subject to change. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. Visit Lowes.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. What, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's going to fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Okay, Julie, have you made your decision?
Oh, wow, I have. This was a tough choice. I had such a great time with Brad, but I am gonna have to pick Geico.
Interesting.
Geico is just, sorry, I'm getting emotional, been by my side, for so long with great customer service.
I thought we had something, Julie.
I'm sorry, Brad. Geico is just always there for me whenever I need them.
It's an insurance company.
No, it's an insurance partner, Brad.
For the choice you can always rely on, go to geico.com.
Hey, JMV, are you wondering what is in your water? Call Connecticut for a free water test and to find out what is in your water and how best to treat it. Connecticut offers a range of products from their Premier Series water softeners to their K5 drinking water stations that can give you bottled water quality right from your tap. Get all the information you need at ConnecticutIndy.com or call 800-444-1387 today. And when you set up your appointment, tell them JMV sent you and receive an additional $100 in savings when you buy in the month of March.
Chapters of this story take a whole month to tell. This is May. It starts with twists and turns on the IMS road course for the GMR Grand Prix. Then PPG presents Armed Forces Indy 500 qualifying and the Firestone Fast 6 shootout. May continues with Indy's biggest party, Miller Lite Card Day. And all roads lead to the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gamebridge. This is where heroes become legends and legends become legendary. This is May. Buy now and save. Get tickets at IMS.com.
The Morning Checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Jake, absolute classics last night to begin and end the night, and that means the first 4 tickets have been punched to the Elite Eight, and they are as followed. It will be Kansas State in the East region taking on Florida Atlantic just after 6 o'clock tomorrow night from Madison Square Garden. And out west in Vegas, it will be Gonzaga, their 5th Elite Eight in the last 7 years. They are taking on UConn, who's absolutely been dominant through the first 3 games. Let's start with the heroics from the first game, and that was Michigan State falling in overtime. Jake, Marquise Noel, that is a hell of a story for the New York City kid in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the Garden itself, Kevin, you've been to the Garden or not been to the Garden?
No, I've not.
There's something about the Garden that, first off, just has like a magic about it, because I think, what do they say? If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And I think some players just, they want to elevate because of the fact it's in the Garden. Does that make sense? You know, you look at it and you go, here we are on the biggest stage, and you're in the Garden, and you know, you're in a tight game, and then next thing you know, Kevin, one of the more incredible plays you've ever seen, you're acting like you're arguing with your coach and you're throwing an alley-oop behind the back, right?
Yeah, his playmaking, Noel, was incredible. Comes back from an ankle injury in the second half. He had 20 points, an NCAA record.
Assists.
Correct, an NCAA record, 19 assists. He had 5 steals, including 1 on the final play of the game, so Michigan State does not get a shot off. So Kansas State will take on Florida Atlantic. Obviously, Florida Atlantic coached by Dusty May. They grinded one out, came back to beat Tennessee in the nightcap. Here was Dusty May afterwards.
It's awesome for our university, our athletic department, and our community, and we are extremely proud to represent them. Our guys have done it with professionalism all year, and so it's awesome for everyone, especially as we've put a lot of time. These guys have put a lot of work, elbow grease into building a program, and so for it to be to this point, it's very rewarding, but we'll focus on all that later after the season.
Kevin, can you imagine if I would have told you at the beginning of the year, there was going to be a coach that is from the state of Indiana in the Elite Eight, how far down would you have had to go before you got to Dusty May?
Yeah, that's a great point. Pretty far down the list, but just a great season. 34 wins for the Owls. The other game again on Saturday night will be UConn and Gonzaga. The Gonzaga won last night, an absolute thriller. They were down 13 at halftime. They came back, just an unbelievable second half. They were actually up 10 with 2:30 to go. That entire 10-point lead evaporated. UCLA took the lead by 1 with about 12 seconds to go, and then Julian Straw there, the Gonzaga young guard, hits a 3 literally from the logo. You had Noel, the New York native, in the first one being the hero. Straw there, the Las Vegas native in Las Vegas, the hero in the nightcap. Here was Julian Straw there afterwards.
I mean, it's moments like that you can't make up. I mean, those are literally the moments you dream of, you know, just to even make a shot like that in March Madness. And then, I mean, just to be back home in Vegas is like the cherry on top. But words can't describe how proud I am of just our team and our resilience. I mean, nothing was going our way. I mean, we weren't playing our brand of basketball at all through that whole first half. And, I mean, we flipped that switch. And, you know, there's not a lot of teams in the country who could who could, bond together and make a run like that.
He sounds thrilled.
Yeah, he was very subdued even afterwards. I'm thinking that and so was the Noel kid. When you watch the Noel kid play with the style that he plays with, you're obviously expecting him to be pretty outspoken, but Jerome Tang did that for Kansas State. So looking ahead to tonight, again, Alabama, San Diego State will lead us off at 6:30. That is from the Yum Center. The 9 o'clock game in that region, Princeton and Creighton. That is the biggest spread of any of these Sweet 16 games. Creighton favored by 9.5. The other region tonight, it will be Houston and Miami. Houston favored by 7.5. That is from Kansas City.
Take Dramamine before watching that game, right?
And then Texas and Xavier. That is just one of 2 Sweet 16 matchups where the seeds have held. And last night, UCLA Gonzaga was the other one. We got a great one. Hopefully Xavier, Texas follows suit.
NBA last night, it was Orlando, 106 actually over the New York Knicks. Cleveland over the Brooklyn Nets, 116-114. The Pelicans got a win, so too did the Clippers. The leading scorer last night in the association was, Kevin, your guess?
It was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
It is a guy that was drafted by the Indiana Pacers select from San Diego State University, Kawhi Leonard. 32 points last night for Kawhi. And the Clippers win over the Thunder. Pacers in action, of course, tonight, as we talked about, in Boston, taking on the Celtics at 7 o'clock. You can begin listening to that broadcast at 6:30 on this fine radio station.
12-point underdog. I guess they're thinking Halliburton is not going to play?
I would think that Halliburton, if it's a 12-point, what is it if he does play? 4? 5?
Yeah, certainly not 12. And again, a quick turnaround for the Pacers. They are in Atlanta tomorrow night. That is a 5 o'clock tip. So kind of an odd back-to-back in terms of tip times here in Boston, then in Atlanta. When we come back, we'll get into, again, Indiana's got a player in the transfer portal, potentially some good news on the Purdue front on a separate matter. We'll chat about that. And Greg Rakestraw joins us at 8. We'll talk a little high school basketball with him with the state finals coming up tomorrow night at Cambridge Fieldhouse. Kevin and Quay right here on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Pacers are in Boston to take on the Celtics this evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hi, Sarah. I'm sorry I'm late. The traffic is crazy.
Yeah, it is. And it doesn't help that gas prices have skyrocketed. I can't believe how much it costs for gas now.
Everyone's talking about how much gas is, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app, and I get cash back for every gallon of gas I buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid real cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yeah, real cash every time I buy gas.
What? That sounds like it could really add up.
I've made around $200 already.
Wow, that's serious extra money. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code CAR5 for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back in your first fill-up. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code CAR5 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus in your first tank. That's code CAR5 for 25 cents per gallon cash back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Indianapolis is under attack, at war with rampant crime, drugs, and homelessness. But Mayor Hogsett is unwilling to join the fight. In fact, under Mayor Hogsett, Indianapolis now has a murder rate higher than Chicago. Do you feel safe knowing that? But Jefferson Shreve is ready to take back Indianapolis. Jefferson Shreve will put more cops on the street and give them the support they need. We don't have to live like this. Jefferson Shreve is ready to rebuild, restore, and reimagine Indianapolis. He's a winner in business, so he knows how to lead a team to turn things around. No more empty talk. It's time for action. Because another term for Mayor Hogsett is another 4 years of the same problems, only worse. This may send Hogsett a message. Vote for Jefferson Shreve for a change. Paid for by Shreve for Mayor.
Now open, Northern Indiana's premier hotel entertainment experience. Escape, indulge, and relax. Dine at the new Edgewater restaurant and schedule something unforgettable at Ribbontown Event Center. Here, where gaming, award-winning cuisine, and the entertainment experience of your life are waiting just for you. The finest hotel in Northern Indiana. Now open. Schedule your escape today at the new Four Winds Casino Hotel in South Bend. Visit fourwindscasino.com.
Jessica, this is the happiest day of my life. Right up there with the day I bought my RV and insured it with Progressive. Man, I love that thing. There are a million fish in the sea, which I'm reminded of every time I bring my RV to the lake, but I vow to love and cherish you just as much as I cherish campsites with full electric and water hookups. I'm so sorry.
Protect your beloved with an RV policy from Progressive. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you could save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Why have over 2 million people trusted their bath remodels to Bathfitter? When a normal day is anything but normal, we fit your schedule with our unique tub-over-tub process installed in just a day with no demolition. When high quality is the only quality that matters, we fit your standards. We've been remodeling baths for over 35 years, and every bath we install comes with a lifetime warranty. Get the bath you want in a day with quality that lasts a lifetime. Bathfitter, it just fits. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free consultation.
This is C.J. McCollum, star of the New Orleans Pelicans and co-host of the C.J. McCollum Show.
McCollum at the horn for three. Got it!
Inviting you to join Israel Gutierrez and me once a week as we discuss names and storylines in and around the NBA with the inside perspective you can only get from someone in the locker room and on the floor. Listen to great guests and players such as Brandon Ingram and Andre Iguodala, and input from a great team of ESPN Insider regulars like Brian Windhorst, Tim McMahon, and Mark Spears. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with the set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
A new career offers new beginnings and unlimited opportunities. Begin your career with Eskenazi Health, ranked as Indiana's top hospital for community benefit by the Lown Institute. At Eskenazi Health, our patients are treated with compassion and skill. That's why Eskenazi Health is looking for professionals who share our mission and have a passion for serving their community. Enjoy excellent benefits, competitive pay, and unwavering leadership support. Learn more about Eskenazi Health careers at eskenazihealth.edu/careers.
Hello there, it is Terry Stacy with your American Standard Race Day weather. Brought to you by Absolute Comfort, your American Standard Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer. NASCAR heads to beautiful Austin, Texas to run the road course at the Circuit of the Americas Sunday at 3:30. The forecast looks good, partly sunny and 79 degrees at the green flag. American Standard Race Day weather brought to you by Absolute Comfort, your American Standard Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer.
It's JMV. Farm Credit Union can help you save your goals with their challenge account. And in the month of March, the first 25 people to open a challenge account will receive a matching deposit up to $60. It's easy to take the challenge. Just check the weather each Wednesday and whatever the high temperature is for the day. Deposit that amount into your Forum Challenge account. At the end of the month, whichever week you deposited the most, Forum will match the deposit up to $60. To learn more and get started, check out forumcu.com today.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
13 minutes before the hour of 8 o'clock on. It is a Friday. That's the good news. A little bit gloomy, admittedly. A couple of house cleaning items, by the way. 6 until 8 o'clock tonight. Perfect time with the NCAA tournament and the games getting underway. If you're going to be out and about at Broderpool Tavern, we'll be doing a little, I'll be there doing some Pop-A-Shot. Your chance to win. Kevin, you did this last night. So the Pop-A-Shot from Jack Daniels. What's the prize?
First off, Pop-A-Shot, just playing Pop-A-Shot should be worth coming out. I mean,
Correct.
Just the competitive spirit that comes with that game. But yeah, last night I was over at All-Star Sports Lounge, a new spot at 56 in Georgetown. Really cool spot over there. And the prize was a speaker from courtesy of Jack Daniels and a chance to win a little cash with the finals, which will come a week from Saturday. That is at District Tap, right? The finals?
Correct.
Tonight Jake will be over at Broad Ripple Tavern. Again, Pop-A-Shot, say no more. You had some people chirping back and forth at the old Pop-A-Shot game. 109, the high score last night at my location.
So, again, 6 to 8 o'clock tonight. Also at noon today, for those of you, this would be a fairly esoteric audience, I realize, but at noon today on my old high school radio station, that's WJEL, your Panther Sports Connection. Noon today, I will be interviewing Dr. White about his return to North Central High School at 89.3 FM is where you can hear that. You had mentioned earlier, Kevin, the transfer portal and Indiana's.
Well, I did want to ask how was the Boo? Was it Boo Query's first night?
It was, thank you. So yesterday, for those that don't know, I can't remember at what time we talked about this yesterday, so just to rehash, due to an unfortunate incident, not going too much further into that, that I felt just terrible about. I have never been, we had a family cat growing up. I've never been like a cat guy, but we always had a cat when I was a kid as a family. I've never had a pet. And so, I mean, as an adult on my own, I've never had a pet other than Shannon's dogs. And so I went to the Humane Society earlier this week and basically said, I would like to adopt whatever cat you have that is a good cat but has had very few inquiries. And they said, we have a cat. People are afraid, Kevin, of black cats. They think they're bad luck. So they had a little black cat named Boo. He's already named. He's 9 years old. I think they said between 8 and 9. And apparently his owner passed away. He was taken to Indianapolis Animal Care. They obviously were overcrowded there, so they transported him to the Humane Society. He had been in the Humane Society, I think, probably coincidentally since around Halloween. So he'd been there for like 5 months. So I went and picked him up yesterday in the crate. He did not make a sound the entire drive home. When I let him loose at my place, I opened the crate up. He kind of slowly he slowly kind of sulked out. And then he, not in a sprint by any stretch, kind of in an exploratory sniffing mission, ended up finding a spot underneath my dresser where he just kind of sat. But I went under there, and he licked my finger, was good. And then shortly thereafter, he went and found a spot in my closet and hid in there for like 4 or 5 hours. We went out last night. When I came home, he was out of the closet and was just kind of hanging out. Saw me and then just kind of made his way into the guest bedroom and hung out in there. So
And that's his room?
That would ideally be his room, but we'll see.
That's where the litter box play area, remember you describing it yesterday?
That is correct, yeah. So we'll see. Today when I left, he was still hiding. He's still skittish for sure. He's still getting used to it, and we'll see how long it takes.
Little 2:00 nap, post Dr. White interview. You and Boo curled up on the recliner for a little exactly Friday afternoon nap. No napping in Bloomington right now for Mike Woodson and his bunch. They are busy assessing the transfer portal. I don't think too much of a shock, and you could argue too much of a loss. In yesterday's news of Logan Duncombe, the Moeller High School product from Cincinnati, just 18 games played at IU in his 2 seasons. He is entering the transfer portal. Jake, kind of a weird 2 years for him in Bloomington. That we missed time due to like COVID and had it sounded like a pretty serious sinus issue this season. It's not like when he was healthy, he was getting consistent playing time, but just from a sheer body standpoint, again, Trace Jackson-Davis, Race Thompson gone. Now Duncombe. I mean, you're losing a lot of your guys that are 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", etc. Yeah. You would think on paper, plenty of playing time available. Because, again, they're not bringing in freshman bigs. The 2 freshmen, they're, point guard and kind of a wing. Malik Renew, Caleb Banks, Jordan Geronimo. I mean, those 3 should have on paper. We'll see if they all stay. Those 3 should have ample opportunity to earn playing time, but I fully expect IU will be trying to find another big, if not more than one, in the transfer portal.
Now, the Graham Ike from Wyoming, who's a big man, 6'9", he was a really good player for Wyoming.
Yeah.
We can get Reese Monaco back on the show.
Sure.
He spent this year hurt, but he is in the portal, and apparently Indiana's one of the
lefty, if I remember correctly, for Ike. Yeah, he had some moments against IU. He also had some other moments that weren't too great. So, yeah, from a scholarship standpoint, those are the two open scholarships. I know IU, I think, had a walk-on that also entered the transfer portal yesterday, but fully expect more names from Indiana to be in the portal, and of course they're going to try and make some additions as well.
Did you mention there's apparently a kid from Towson State that's looking at Indiana?
Yeah, and did I see a Harvard kid as well? So yeah, again, they're going to have, I would fully expect when it's all said and done, probably 2 or 3 subtractions portal-wise and probably 2 or 3 additions. And I don't know, maybe it'll be more than that. But that seems to be the case. I did want to mention yesterday, I saw from there's some senators out there that are trying to, obviously NIL and Congress is it can be a heavily debated topic. Jake, we had Tom Dienhart on, I guess it would have been maybe last week or maybe it was Rob Blackman. But I asked Rob about Zach Edey and the potential to go to the NBA. And part of the reason why I asked that question was, and I apologize for not knowing all the details, but there are some issues with international students and NIL. From a visa standpoint, if you're here on a college or an education-based visa, you are not allowed to, I think, tap into as many NIL opportunities as Americans are. Jake, I would think Zach Edey would be an absolute goldmine for NIL when you think about, Canada and the hockey background. And
look at what...
Just like the sheer figure that he is, the sheer presence that he is. I mean, that is just...
Who is the... I always forget his name. Who is the big NBA player that's like Romanian that has all the ads? He's like 7'4". Somebody help me out. Boban. He's become like a personality because he's just so big, right?
Exactly. I mean, not
and
to
like
get
the same thing.
too stereotypical,
right.
But yeah, people
but
just
like
know who he is.
Just the fact that he's such a tall athlete. I mean, and he's a great player. Yes, I could see how, because he stands out.
So that will be interesting to see if that gets passed, if that gets cleared somewhat soon. If I'm holding my breath, I would guess no, but obviously that could have some implications on Edey. If you look at the UConn big guy, Sanoga, he's from Mali. I mean, there are other players that obviously this applies to. It seems rather no-brainer to me, common sense to me, that if you're going to have the NIL allowances for Americans, why not have those for international players as well? But that could be something that obviously aids Purdue in the hope of retaining Zach Edey. Did see that the Butler big dude, Manny Bates, Butler, probably their best player this season. He was one of, along with Eric Hunter, the two that did not play in the Big East tournament due to academic requirements with their graduate programs. He is entering the draft but maintaining eligibility.
When you talk about that issue for international players and NIL, we're getting ready to talk to Greg Rakestraw, if I'm not mistaken. One of the guys that we're going to see this weekend in the high school state finals, Fairleigh Dickinson from Kokomo, would probably fall underneath, once he gets to the college level, into that area, right?
Yeah, that is a good point.
I mean, he's came from the Democratic Republic of the Congo 2 years ago, and by all account, just a wonderful kid and obviously a great player. How does that impact him?
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to our boss Dion last night at the event, and he said he's going Saturday just to watch Flory. Like, there seems to be some of that building, Jake, of an hour away from Indianapolis, the late bloomer. He's not always played basketball. Obviously not always been here in the state of Indiana. Greg Oden was talked about as a sixth grader in Terre Haute. There was build to it. I think Flory is starting to get there. There'll be a lot of people, I think, in the building tomorrow night over at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, not only to watch Ben Davis try and achieve one of the best seasons the state has seen in years, but obviously get a glimpse of a pretty unique player in Fairleigh Dickinson. So we'll talk with Greg Rakestraw more about that coming up next. Kevin and Query on a ugly-looking Friday in Indy. Talking about hopefully Indiana and Purdue in the Sweet 16.
Incredibly disappointing.
The number 1 seed losing to a 16 seed. Historic level of choke collapse.
To watch Purdue players literally run from the basketball.
If you're talking about it.
In terms of IU not competing.
IU needs a hype coach.
You say a hype coach?
We're talking about it.
They were rattled.
Your home for Indy sports. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
Ensure your comfort year-round. Join Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling Service Club from Johnson County's premier dealer. Call themarshallnow.com, your American Standard Air dealer.
Sometimes an injury or death happens due to someone else's mistake. Find justice with the injury attorneys at Parr Ritchie at 317-269-2509. PARRinjury.com.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Sports are easy to disagree on. Let's see what happens when sports talk hosts talk about something they agree on.
No, hold on. I'm saying drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds.
Well, I disagree. I think drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds.
Come on, man. Wait, I think we're saying the same thing.
Oh, so what do we do now?
Everyone agrees that drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings by new customer surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2020 and May 2021. Potential savings will vary.
Mom, Dad, Sis?
Here we go again.
Why are you in a suit?
Picture, if you will, a world with the best network imaginable. I'm talking about the Xfinity 10G network.
Go on.
Mom, remember how your reality shows wouldn't load with all of us online? Now you can binge. And Susie, we'll have fast internet in the basement.
Nice.
If you have any questions, here's my card.
This is just your name on a gum wrapper.
Introducing the 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through April 23rd, new customers can get 200 megabit Xfinity internet during our limited time Xfinity 10G network launch celebration for just $25 a month for 2 years. Plus, there's no annual contract required and you get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
Do you need new tires? Let me tell you about AAA's new mobile replacement tire service, My Pit Crew. Jake Query here. My Pit Crew, a new mobile replacement tire service from AAA, offers a convenient way to have new tires installed on your car without ever leaving your home or office. The process is simple. Pick out tires online at aaa.com/mypitcrew. Schedule your appointment and then relax. A My Pit Crew technician will come to install and balance your new tires at a time and location convenient for you. That's correct. I did exactly that. Got brand new tires put on my vehicle right there in my own home when the My Pit Crew showed up right there at my house to put the new tires on my car. With My Pit Crew, they bring the tire shop to you. Plus, you don't even have to be a AAA member to use My Pit Crew, but AAA members do get a discount on their My Pit Crew tire installation. Visit aaa.com/mypitcrew to pick out tires and schedule your installation. Then relax and let them come to you. Don't spend another Saturday at the tire shop. Contact the My Pit Crew team today.
Lowe's MVP's bonus days are back for pros. Right now, buy a DeWalt 20-volt Max Power Stack Battery 2-pack at $199 and get a select DeWalt Bear tool free. Plus, earn 3 times the bonus points on all Metabo HPT tools and products. Shop even more savings and bonus points offers during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts if any. Valid 3/20 through 3/31. Subject to change. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
It's the Jack Daniels Small Ball Pop-A-Shot Finals. $1,000 cash will be awarded to the champion. You can still compete at the final event, Thursday, March 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Northside District Tap. For more info, log on to 1075thefan.com.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Greg Rakestraw here in just a second. We were talking before the break about international students and being here on an educational visa and the NIL impact and the restrictions on that from someone that would be in the know on this. Said that it's just not specific to an NIL thing. It's more of a larger visa issue of just the inability to earn income, period, while in the States on an educational visa of, if you just want to go get a job at some local fast food joint or something. You can if you're here on a work visa, but not on an education visa. So, again, we'll see if that gets cleared up at all, obviously from a general standpoint, but specifically to Zach Edey's case, if that impacts him returning at all to Purdue. All right, let's head to the Payless Liquors Hotline. Greg Rakestraw, ISC Sports Network, obviously a busy, busy man, and one of his many Christmas days will be tomorrow over at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the boys basketball state finals. Rake, I actually wanted to begin here. Micah Shrewsbury had a really cool story in explaining part of the reason why he took the Notre Dame job. He did an interview with the Penn State local beat writer last night and showed him a video of the scene of Kokomo and Penn semi-state game from Saturday night. And it was, I think Micah Shrewsbury kind of saying to this guy, it's just different here in Indiana. And if I ever had the opportunity to get back there at a major program, I was going to do it. And I thought that was pretty cool. Obviously, there's a lot of semi-state scenes that he could show. Penn having a Notre Dame commit, probably why he wanted to show the guy that. But just kind of a pretty cool angle to Micah Shrewsbury wanted to come home.
Yeah, and again, you've heard me say that I thought he was a candidate for that job, from the jump. I thought he was a great hire for Notre Dame. And to me, part of the reason why I left Penn State was not what they could do financially, was not the resources they could put together. It's just historically, that was their first NCAA tournament win in 22 years. But they have this great facility in the Bryce Jordan Center, and no one is ever there. And I realize that with winning comes more fans. But historically, the Big Ten normally plays to full houses or close to full houses. That thing is never close to full. You also have to recruit to State College, Pennsylvania. It's beautiful, but it's not close. It's not close to Philly. It's not close to Pittsburgh. It is the middle of nowhere, and so there are challenges in Notre Dame, absolutely. But I think he's got a much better chance of being successful on a regular basis, which Mike Bray has proven you can do in South Bend, Indiana. So I thought he was a natural fit for it. I'm very happy for Micah.
It's funny to me, Greg, because, and maybe it's just, this actually might be the era in which I grew up, but I still think of, even with, Mike Bray had success, as you mentioned. There were some really good, hell, Notre Dame was the closest team to beating Kentucky when they got to the Final Four undefeated. But I still think of Notre Dame as like a top probably 20 college basketball program historically. I'm not saying right now, but just historically. They've had great teams, great moments, great players, legendary players in the game of basketball. It's just been a while, and it's not been consistent, and it's probably been in the shadows, even in their dominant eras or their best eras by their standards of like DePaul and the same background and Indiana, obviously. But it does, to me, feel like a place that's kind of a sleeping giant.
Sure. And and again, let's talk about, when you grew up, people have talked about Notre Dame and NBC for 30 years. People forget Notre Dame and NBC was a basketball connection before it was a football connection. And so from the mid-'70s to, say, the mid-'80s, you would see Notre Dame play this national schedule. You would see them play every Saturday afternoon on your television. Again, you think of the cavalcade of stars they had from the start of the Digger Phelps era until about the mid-'80s, those are some really good basketball players. And while maybe Mike Brey was never able to capture that same star quality because of during his tenure, they were in a conference the entire time, it made it easier for that program to go out and be successful. And again, the fact that he's able to take Notre Dame to back-to-back Elite Eights was something really impressive. And I think in the ACC, the ACC is in a period of transition. Let's face it, Duke was out in the second round. Coach K's no longer there. North Carolina was not an NCAA tournament team this year. Roy Williams is no longer there. They're great programs in the ACC, but you can get to the top of that league, I think, maybe a little more quickly than you could in years gone by. And I'm really curious, and you were talking about name, image, and likeness stuff. I'm very curious as to, I don't think NIL is going to be a problem at Notre Dame. Raising funds is never an issue there. And I don't think the transfer portal is going to be a problem because think of how many transfers that Mike Brey has had over the years, and it's worked out pretty well for him there too. So given all those factors, you can put together a good team really quickly at Notre Dame, which is why, again, I expect Mike and Shrewsbury to be successful from the jump.
Again, he's Greg Rakestraw, and that's just music to my ears. So thank you, Rake, for making me feel good on this Friday. ISC Sports Network, and obviously we'll get to the state finals here in just a second. But we had Kyle Nenrip on earlier this week, and I want to ask you a very similar question I asked him. Of you get deep in the tournament, Rake, and you do have local ties still in it. We saw John L. Davis interviewed last night, and I get he's from a pocket of the state we don't talk a ton about in Gary, or Jack Nungy later tonight from Evansville playing for Xavier. Obviously, Nigel Pack here locally with Miami. Any stories on any of those three? I feel like those are the main three from a local standpoint playing still left in the tournament.
Sure, and we talked about this, I think, last week to Jack. Given part of the reason why he is at Xavier, I am so happy for any success that young man has in his career. I feel good for John L. Davis, too, because I think John L. would be a much more known quantity in this state had he not been a senior in 2020, because his school, Gary 21st Century, which is now grown to a 2A school, was a 1A school when he played there. I firmly believe they would have been the state champs in 2020. And COVID hits, and that's the end of that. He also would have been an Indiana All-Star. He was an Indiana All-Star, so didn't have a chance to play. And so he would have been a much more known commodity in this state had those couple of things not happened. So I'm happy for the success that he has had. And, I had the pleasure of watching Nigel play a lot his junior and senior years at Lawrence Central. And I always thought that, he should have been maybe even more in the Mr. Basketball discussion. His senior went to Anthony Leal. It was really down to Leal and Tony Perkins, seemingly, as to who was going to get that nod. And again, he was 2020, so he was on the team, didn't get a chance to play on the Indiana All-Star team. But I sit here and watch Nigel, and I think about the talent that was on that LC team. And if you go back a year earlier, you've got Jake LaRavia, first-round draft pick, Tay Davis, Dre Davis, both playing at Seton Hall, and Nigel Pack now playing in the ACC after playing at Kansas State, who is now in the Elite Eight as well. So, but I have always been thoroughly impressed with Nigel Pack's game.
Greg, shifting gears to this weekend and high school basketball. High school I know is on your mind because I saw that you had I don't know if it was impromptu high school reunion, but got together. You guys went to you grew up in Lanesville, Indiana, right?
That is correct, sir. Yes.
So that's down near New Albany, Louisville area, correct?
Correct. That is equidistant, to use a big old fancy word that wouldn't be used in Lanesville. Between Corydon and New Albany is where Lanesville is located.
Okay, and so you have, of your graduating class of 6, one of them lives in Cincinnati or something. And so you guys got together, I guess, in Greensburg. Is that right, or Batesville?
In Greensburg. I made Brian drive a little bit more. And my graduating class was not 6. It was almost 5 times more than 6.
Ooh.
Almost. It was 29. Brian and I were in the same class. Rachel in that picture was 2 years behind us. And then Steve, who you could tell was a pretty good doubles player because of his height, he was in the class between the two of us. He was a year behind us.
You need a couple boosts at La Rosa's in Batesville then, right?
What's that?
You need a couple boosts. Oh, Greensburg.
They went to go see the tree in the corner.
Maybe there's a La Rosa's in Greensburg, too.
There is not, and that is the way of telling that you are really in Cincinnati and not in Indianapolis anymore, is the fact that the two first restaurants you see at the Batesville exit 149 are La Rosa's and Skyline. That's the official gateway to Cincinnati. Those two things don't exist in Greensburg. Greensburg, hence, still a part of Indianapolis.
Ray, from the high school standpoint, I probably should have asked you this earlier this year. I always get confused by it. Badunga or Badunga?
Badunga. We said Badunga last year and took Flory, kind of like Bobby Okereke or Antoine Bethea, a year to correct us. Badunga.
Okay, so Flory Badunga. Two-part question, I guess. The first one would be, we were just discussing like the NIL stuff in terms of, because he is here, obviously he didn't grow up in the United States, he's from the Congo. Does any of that get complicated in terms of his recruiting? And then number two, is it possible this is the last chance you're going to see him play for Kokomo High School?
No, on the second one, I think he's staying. And again, he is attached to a family in the Adams family that is very well connected in terms of AAU circles. Exactly. I figured there would be a finger snap coming in at some point in time. I don't think
snap right there.
Is involved in his in his recruitment. He's going to stay. And let's face it, so many kids, go to the AAU or I should say the prep program route, or almost like this national level of high school, originally Oak Hill, Montverde, IMG, La Lumiere, et cetera, because they feel they need to up their recruitment. Well, every coach known to man has flown to Kokomo to watch him play at some point in time this year. So there is nothing from a recruiting standpoint I think he would gain by doing that. His head coach, John Peckinpah, was a former college coach. Was an assistant coach at IPFW, was a head coach at the Division II level. He's less than 15 years removed from being a college basketball player. He gets a very good level of coaching at Kokomo High School. There may not be that great of talent around him next year. There's a lot of senior kids that are really probably more football players in terms of what their future is going to be than basketball players. So the roster might look a little different next year, but I think his family values, as well they should, the absolute, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this, the reverence that he and Kokomo basketball have been held in since he came to town 2 years ago. I mean, think of, you use the example of showing the crowd between Kokomo and Penn for the semi-state. That's Kokomo every game at this point. I'm curious next year if we start to get to like Damon Bailey territory in terms of teams that are hosting Kokomo says, you know what, our gym seats 4,000. Let's find a gym that seats 7,000 or 8,000 because we can have 7,000 or 8,000 tickets. That is the level of interest in watching this young man and that team play. So I think for a lot of reasons, that kid's staying in Kokomo.
Are they more than just Flory in terms of this matchup with undefeated Ben Davis, or is it literally Ben Davis, which interestingly enough is, I think, a really balanced team, taking on one really unstoppable guy and four complementary pieces? I mean that is no slight to the rest of the roster for Kokomo. I just don't know how they're constructed, and so thus my question.
They will play about a 7 or 8 man rotation. They've got Zion Bellamy, Reese Beard, Shane Spear, Patrick Hartman, Carson Rogers. And again, most of those kids, like for example, there was a little bit of a struggle out of the gate for Kokomo. They lost to Westfield, who was a good team, not a great team this year. Lost to Westfield in game number 1, in part because Kokomo made the football semi-state in 4A this past year, and which meant they were playing basically up until the weekend before the first game. A lot of their kids are football kids. They had 5 practices before they then played Westfield in game number 1. So again, they've got good athletes, good solid high school basketball players, none of the other big-time recruits. This is not like Ben Davis, who of their 4 senior starters, 2 are playing Division I basketball next year, 2 are playing Division II basketball next year. Another starter is going to be either a D1 football or basketball player in a couple of years, and there's likely a Division I player or 2 that are coming off the bench for Ben Davis because they're underclassmen. That's not the case for Kokomo. Now, they've got a couple of kids that will play college football next year, one at Findlay and Shane Spear. Another one's going to play at Manchester at the Division III level. They have another senior that's deciding whether I'm playing baseball or basketball. So they're a good team. But Ben Davis, 1 through 5, is more talented than Kokomo is. But if you're asking for, by far, the highest level national recruit in that game, it's Floyd Badunga.
Again, Greg Rakestraw is with us. He'll be over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, I believe 3A and 4A on the Rake Plate coming up tomorrow night. Boy, every time I think of John Peckinpah Rake, I think of him wrestling Greg Oden in the post, right, Muncie, or him rocking the helmet that he had at IPFW. Let's go to the 3A game. One of my favorite humans, Bobby Allen, coaching Garin. They have had a kind of I would say a bit of an odd season of you got to the tournament. I don't know if anyone called them necessarily a favorite. And then, Rake, you look at their scores here throughout the tournament. I think every win is by double figures. Thoughts on the 3A matchup between Northwood and Garin?
So Garin Catholic is part of kind of one of the most open halves of the bracket I have ever seen, because there was no favorite in 3A South. So much of the conversation was about North Davies, who had went from 1A to 2A on enrollment, and then said, you know what, we'll bump to 3A, and we'll play at the 3A level. And it was, okay, could they pull this off? And they got beat by Scottsburg in the morning game in the semi-state. Garin, in their 2 sectional games, beat conference rivals in Brebeuf and Chittard that beat them during the course of the regular season. And yes, they have won every game by double digits. All those games have been between kind of 12 and 16 points. They were up by 22 in the semi-state final against Scottsburg. They also had a game rained out. They had a rain delay. There was a leaky roof on sectional Friday night at Short Ridge. They had to come back and play the last 3 minutes of the game the next night and kind of got through that hurdle too. In terms of the matchup, they are a big and physical team, which is good because Northwood has really good size and they're a really experienced team. And they've got a couple of kids that are playing basketball in the Crossroads League next year, and maybe a Division I young man in Tyler Rosh, who is a 6'8" sophomore. So Northwood's not very deep, but the 5 or 6 kids that play are all really good, and they have consistently been the best team outside of 4A this year. So I think Garin can match him from a physicality standpoint. I expect a low-scoring half-court game between those two tomorrow night in 3A.
Did I hear you correctly in Bobby Allen in 3A at Cathedral and Don Carlisle in 4A at Ben Davis? If they win their respective state titles coming up Saturday night, they'd be just one of 4 or 5 individuals in the state history to win as a player and as a coach a state title?
That is correct. The last one to pull it off was Pete Turgovich, 1971 player, East Chicago, Washington. 2007 East Chicago Central. Burl Friddle of Franklin Wonder 5 fame was the first guy to do it, playing for Franklin, coached at Washington, had won a state championship elsewhere as well. There have been 4. Bobby Allen would be 5. Don Carlisle then would be 5 or 6, depending on what happens in the 3A game.
Isn't there some...
That's pretty cool.
Isn't there a weird quirk there, Greg, where East Chicago Central was... East Chicago, Washington joined with others to become East Chicago Central. Is that correct?
Correct. So what you're referring to is Don Carlisle would technically be the first person to do it at his alma mater. In other words, all those 4 previous people to do that were a player at one school and coached at another. The asterisk / technicality is Pete Turgovich is at East Chicago, Washington. That school merged in the 80s with East Chicago Central. So technically, it's not the same school, but it is the same school.
Yeah, it's kind of like Anderson, right? I mean, Madison Heights and Anderson and Anderson Highland and how that's all kind of merged together. Yeah,
correct, absolutely.
Rick, before we let you go, it's more of just kind of an astonishing thing when I looked at it. So Ben Davis, they win on Saturday, they go undefeated. That would just be the second undefeated state title team we've had since 2009.
I believe so. We had a run of those in the early 2000s. But yes, Warren Central 32-0, Ben Davis 33-0, and it would be the second most wins in an undefeated season. Actually, I'm sorry, it'd be the most wins in an undefeated season in the history of Indiana high school basketball, and it would be the second most wins ever in an Indiana high school basketball season.
God, that's crazy to me. You didn't have a Class A or 2A team go undefeated in the last 13 years. And that Warren team, of course, was the team that beat Romeo.
Yeah, I think part of it is that I think what you now have is that the teams that are really good in 1A, 2A, and 3 that have an idea of, hey, we have a chance to get to the state finals. I think the idea is, hey, let's find a way to get some bigger teams in our schedule.
Sure.
Let's go play in these showcase events, or we're playing in the Hall of Fame Classic, whatever the case may be. I think those schools have really upped their schedule. So I'm sure you've got the list in front of you. You feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But I think the only 1A, 2A, 3A teams that have finished undefeated, I think, is Lewis Cass in 03 with Bo Bauer, and then Waldron with the Barnard Twins in 04. I think the other teams that have gone undefeated have all been in the 4A ranks. Off the top of my head, I believe that's the case.
Yeah, let me give me just 1 sec. I can find it. Addicts 56. Yeah, you got to go way back.
Yeah. Started in 1998.
Right, here we go while we're at it.
You had 03 Pike, 03 Lewis Cass, 04 Waldron, 06 LN, 09 Bloomington South, and Princeton that year. And
yeah, that's right. Yep.
And then since that year, just 2018 Warren, obviously the iconic semi-state game, beating Romeo Langford and company.
So, Greg, that Waldron team you just mentioned was coached by Jason Delaney, who then later went on and won with Trey Lyles and Tech, then won with Cathedral, right?
Correct.
So, Bill Green jumps to mind as somebody who has won at multiple schools. Is 3 the most for any one coach?
Yes. And Jason is the only person that has done that, correct.
It's pretty impressive. Not only 3 schools, 3 classes, right?
Two classes, because Tech and Cathedral both 4A.
Okay, there you go.
Yes, done it in 1A and 4A, absolutely.
Pretty impressive.
Rake TV, right? 3A, 4A tomorrow for you?
That is correct. So, again, the 3A game, for those who want to watch Gary Catholic and Northwood, you got to find Bally Sports Extra, the Bally Sports app, or go to ihsatv.org, because the Pacers play a kind of a weird time tomorrow. They play at 5, but because they play at 5, that allows us to put the 4A game back on the Bally Sports Indiana main channel. So I would imagine at some point in time in the 3A postgame or in the 4A or preamble, I'm able to say, we welcome those of you joining us now for the Pacers game on Bally Sports Indiana.
Actually, probably works out pretty well, considering the anticipation with that 4A game coming up tomorrow night. Rake, have a great call, and thank you for all the insight this morning.
Of course, fellas. Take care, buddy.
That's a great Greg Rakestraw. You heard him earlier this weekend, noon to 3 as well. And he's got the 3A and the 4A games for those curious. The morning session tomorrow over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Things will get underway with the Class A matchup. That is 15 and 12 Southwood taking on Lutheran. The 2A game, Blackhawk Christian, their head coach Matt Roth, former IU guard Matt Roth, against 29 and 1 Lenton. And then Northwood and Guerin in 3A, Kokomo and Ben Davis 4A. Head coach of Guerin, Bobby Allen, taught me in first period comp class at Cathedral back in the day. Great dude. He actually used to coach at Knightstown. Jake, I always felt like that would be an iconic job. I just picture scenes from Hoosiers.
That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't
it? Demanding they fire him.
Coach stays.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all in on Southwood.
Did I see correctly that would be the most losses for a state champion ever?
I think you did say that. They started out, if I'm not mistaken, they started like 1-7.
I'm curious with teams like that, because I know Rake mentioned this with Kokomo. Kokomo played Ben Davis, third game of the season. Kokomo made the semi-state in football. Several of their football players, I think, were not yet playing on the basketball team. I don't know what Southwood's football program looked like.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
I'm always curious when you see those teams kind of start
all
slow.
Of a sudden,
to a season.
You get your full roster after a while.
Right. But yeah, that Ben Davis Kokomo game early in the year, just a 7-point game. We'll see how the Kokomo guards can handle Ben Davis's intensity and their press and their depth coming up tomorrow night. All right. Is it time for a morning checkdown?
It is.
Yeah.
The Morning Checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
By the way, I believe it is East Chicago Roosevelt. I was watching a video the other day from the 1985 IHSA State Finals where Tom Carnegie at halftime was introducing all of the former winners.
That was a really cool video you sent out.
That was pretty wild, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And in that, East Chicago Roosevelt is one of the coaches that's referenced. I believe it was East Chicago Roosevelt and East Chicago Washington that is now East Chicago Central. Those are the two schools that merged into East Chicago
Speaking
Central.
of Gary, should we start with John L. Davis and the Owls of Florida Atlantic? The leading scorer last night For the Owls, it was kind of a grinding affair against Tennessee. They were able to outlast them, though. And FAU with Dusty May and Clay Junior High legend Todd Abernathy, they are heading to the Elite Eight. And Jake, they will take on Kansas State in what probably was the game. I think still is the game of the tournament, but the nightcap last night might be number 2 on that list.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas State and Michigan State went ahead and went into overtime. Kansas State then had an unbelievable, no-look, kind of behind, reverse dunk alley-oop, 19 assists in a game. And then UCLA and Gonzaga said, well, hang on, hold my soft drink. I'll say it that way since we're talking about college kids. And that game was unbelible. UCLA and
college
Gonzaga
kids aren't drinking
forth.
beer? No way. No,
well,
no
the
PBR.
The freshmen and sophomores are, Kevin. The back-and-forth nature of Gonzaga and UCLA, 2 teams that each would go on 7-0 runs, 10-3 runs. It just the leads kept going back and forth. UCLA was in control for the early part of the second half. Then Gonzaga came roaring back, took a huge lead. UCLA took the lead back. Lots of changes towards the end of that ball game.
I encourage everyone, maybe wait till your lunch break, but today at work, dial up the Gonzaga-UCLA highlights. It's hard to describe what took place in that second half, but again, UCLA up 13.5. Gonzaga then just a dominant second half. They take a 10-point lead with 2:30 to go. We know the history of these two teams. They show Adam Morrison doing the color radio for Gonzaga. The big collapse they had 17 years ago to the day, yesterday, when all of that unfolded. Gonzaga loses their 10-point lead with less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go. And then Julian Strother, their guard from Las Vegas, hits one from the March Madness logo with about 7 seconds to play to take a 2-point lead. And they were able to hold on from there. Tiger Campbell almost hit a buzzer beater that would have sent the game into overtime. But just an absolutely wild finish. So coming up on Saturday, the first game will be Florida Atlantic and Kansas State. The second game from Vegas will be UConn and Gonzaga.
By the way, I did mention this earlier, but I do find it fascinating. Somebody sent it to me. It was on a tweet earlier this morning. Florida Atlantic's win last night puts now the 58th different college basketball program to make the Elite Eight in the men's basketball tournament since Indiana's last Elite Eight appearance. Purdue, of course, is in that list. Creighton and Princeton guarantees 59 tonight, and San Diego State, should they win, would make 60 different teams.
Purdue, Notre Dame, and Butler all on that list.
Isn't that something?
And I guess if you add those up, right, Purdue 1, Notre Dame 2, Butler 2. So you've had 5 from the state of Indiana since the last one in Bloomington.
That is something, man.
That is salt, meat, and wounds right now.
That is that. NBA tonight, by the way, Pacers in Boston taking on the Celtics. 7 o'clock tip. You can hear that game coverage beginning at 6:30 right here on The Fan. Last night in the association, just a couple of games. I'm feverishly looking for my sheets. Cleveland, 116-114 over the Brooklyn Nets. It was the Magic over the Knicks, 111-106. Paolo Banchero, by the way, 21 points, was not misidentified as Patrick Mahomes before the game. New Orleans Pelicans, 115-96 over the Charlotte Hornets. And the Clippers got 32 from Kawhi Leonard. They beat the Thunder 127-105.
I just got a good stretch in. I realized you didn't really react.
Well, you're clothed. Makes a world of difference, Kev. The comfort level in this show for everybody else but yourself when you're clothed is much higher.
Sam, I've noticed our YouTube audience a little bit down today. I think that might be a sign that I should go shirtless a little bit more often.
I told you let the ammunition out too early last night. You've cat's out of the bag. You got to go shirtless every show now.
It's cloudy out right now, so there's no suns out, guns out, right?
Pride myself on consistency. Maybe that should be the new consistent feature of this show. When we come back, we will look ahead to tonight. Again, some interesting matchups with these 1 seeds. I think both the 5 seeds in these matchups could make things interesting. And as Jake said, Pacers and Celtics. Tyrese Halliburton questionable for that one. We'll see if he makes his return after missing pretty much, I think, like the last handful of games. We'll do that next here. Kevin and Corey, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Imagine the possibilities of getting the backyard of your dreams. Expand your living space with an Indy Decorative Concrete patio. Indy Decorative Concrete, the patio experts. Big enough to service, small enough to care.
It's JMV for CarX Tire and Auto and March Saving Madness. Tires, brakes, brake pads, oil changes, and more. March Saving Madness. CarX.com today.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
Justin Smith to inbound the basketball. Half-court stripe, Zeller. Here's the shot at the buzzer. He makes it! He made it! Luke Zeller at the buzzer!
I tell you what, Chris, I told you he might be the front runner for Mr. Basketball. That didn't hurt him. That did not hurt him. What a shot and what a heartbreaker for Plymouth and Coach Jack Edison.
Another look at Luke Zeller from just inside the half-court stripe. Hits a shot heard around Indiana, and the Washington Hatchets have won the 3A state title.
Yeah, fire up the parade in Washington after that iconic shot from Luke Zeller, former Notre Damer, of course, and certainly had a cup of coffee in the NBA. That was the 2005 3A state title, beating Plymouth. If I'm not mistaken, I think Randy Davis was a freshman on that Plymouth team and had a hell of a run there for the Pilgrims. That was 74-72 in overtime. Of course, Chris Denari on the call. And Jake, wouldn't it be great if we got an iconic moment or two coming up here tomorrow with all 4 state finals games inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse?
And in addition to that, when they're playing right there on the Pacers' home floor, you might be able to someday go to a Pacer game, see a guy playing like you could have with Luke Zeller once you got to the NBA, or Tyler Zeller or Cody Zeller, and say, hey, I saw that guy play right there on that floor as a high schooler. That's the beauty of high school sports. It gives you the opportunity to see the stars really before they are the blossoming stars. The IHSA Boys Basketball State Finals presented by the Indiana Pacers and the Indiana Fever this weekend at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Communities from all around the state will be right there packing it out to watch their team play and say, I was there, if an iconic moment like that happens again. When you are, of course, supporting high school sports, you're supporting education-based athletics with no transfer portal, no NIL, none of that stuff, just kids playing for what is right there on their jersey with their buddies. That's the beauty of it. Don't miss it. Nothing compares to attending the IHSA Basketball State Finals in person. And again, IHSAA.org is the website for everything about Indiana high school sports.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Greg in the YouTube chat. Yeah, yesterday I came for the sports content, stayed for shirtless Kevin. Okay. Seems to be a common theme here on this Friday morning. Again, there was some constructive criticism. I'm not going to ignore that. Deservedly so. Yeah, I mean, I've got a body that looks like a little beer, a little cheese, a couple donuts. Metabolism's a hell of a thing until you turn about 26.
You got a dad bod, right?
I got a dad bod. I do. I was representing dad bods out there. Tonight, Jake, we've got 4, and boy, if they can just sniff what we got last night, that would be absolutely awesome. I might be premature with this, so feel free to disagree. I like both the 5 seeds to cover tonight. I like 7.5 for San Diego State. I like 7.5 for Miami.
Somebody told me they took an 8-game parlay for all of the underdogs.
Ooh.
$5 wager to win $27,000.
Did they miss? Was Kansas State favored last night?
Kansas State was favored. I didn't know.
UConn was certainly favored.
I take that back. I think it was all lowered seeds. Maybe that's what it was. You had to take all the lower seeds.
You know, San Diego State, I might be prisoner of, like, they were in the 12 o'clock Sunday slot or Saturday slot last week, so I watched them and they dominated.
Oh, you did
Furman.
watch them. See, they're the one team that I'm like, I haven't seen a single moment of them.
And full transparency, Jake, that was like the first time I watched them all year.
Right.
But I see them and I'm like, this is their team every year. Like, just tons of length, very deep, and they get you to play to their pace. They have held their last 3 opponents, the 2 in the tournament, and then their conference championship game with Utah State, to season lows in scoring. Again, part of this is me wanting to root against Alabama, so I'll fully acknowledge that. But I'm going to take them to cover this 7.5. Then I'm going to take Miami to cover 7.5 with Houston.
Okay. I could see Miami upsetting Houston.
I mean, Houston was down 10 to Auburn in the second round.
Okay, here's the thing. There's always, as we saw last night, with here's the better question, Kevin. Last night we had, Gonzaga, UCLA was a great game. Michigan State, Kansas State was a great game. Florida Atlantic and Tennessee was a good game. I mean, Tennessee was up at the half. Florida Atlantic comes back, takes the lead. And then you had a dud. I mean, UConn blew Arkansas out.
Mm-hmm.
What's tonight's dud game?
Yeah. Is it Creighton?
You think Creighton blows out Princeton?
You think back to the last couple of years, Jake. Obviously, last year you had St. Peter's. I think it was a Friday night last year, beating Purdue. Oral Roberts, I don't remember them being super competitive in their Sweet 16 game as a 15 seed. I don't remember Florida Gulf Coast being super competitive in theirs. 9.5-point spread. I just think Creighton's got a lot of firepower. Boy, who's a great player is Nemhard's brother for them.
He is good.
He's
Very
a
good.
really good player. That would be the one that I would point to. Again, I think Xavier, Texas is going to be outstanding.
I think Texas is going to blow out Xavier.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy, you forget. You think back to that opening day of the tournament. It might have been the Friday of the tournament. Xavier had to sweat it out with Kennesaw State. It seems like they've got some firepower. I do like Texas, but yeah, I don't know. That's a 4.5-point spread. That's the closest one we have of the night.
Hey, Jake, somebody just asked, has there ever been a Final Four without a number 1 seed? There have. As a matter of fact, when Butler was here in 2011, or actually that was in Houston, but UConn was a 3, Butler was an 8, Kentucky was a 4, VCU was an 11.
Well, we talked about that Final Four here in 06, right? The LSU, the Georgia Mason.
Florida was a 3, UCLA
Florida,
was a 2,
UCLA.
Mason an 11, and LSU a 4. Yep.
Who's the 5 or higher that we're going to get? We've had it 9 straight years. Is it FAU?
Now, 5 or higher, you mean 5 or lower, right?
Yeah, seed. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Is it Creighton? As a 6?
They've got to get through. Hell, it could be San Diego State. I mean, if San Diego State knocks off Alabama tonight, then they got Creighton or Princeton. I will go with, so we need somebody who is seeded 5 or lower for this to continue to get into the Final Four. Of those, what is UConn, a 4?
Yeah.
A 4.
Mm-hmm.
I will go with Miami.
Upset Kelvin Sampson. Now, is that a little bit of your heart or your head?
No, I think Miami has the ability to do. I think Houston, Kevin, is really good. I think they're a little banged up. And I think Miami kind of plays. Miami has the ability to say, I can do what you do. I can do any. What's the saying?
Anything you can do, I can do better.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of where Miami is right now from a health standpoint.
We need that over Boo Query's litter box. Motivational.
It looks like he might have used the litter box last night. That's a good sign.
Good. Have you emptied it or?
No, I mean I just late last night when I got in, I looked. I'll clean it out for him today for sure, but
I watching that Noel kid for Kansas State, Jake. I just got so much Kemba Walker, Madison Square Garden vibes. And honestly, I know he's still got to win 3 more games, but Jake, when I remember the Kemba runs, I remember him much more as a scorer. Noel had 19 assists last night.
I know.
19 assists. He broke, I think there was 10 minutes to go in the game, and they flashed up the graphic. He's broke the record for most assists in a regional round game. I'm like, there's 10 minutes to go in the game.
I remember when Keith Smart had 15 against Auburn in '87. I think that was a record here at the Dome. Another record that was set last night was Drew Timme. They said, going into the game, they said Drew Timme is tied with 5 players, I guess, with 9 NCAA tournament games over 20 points. Can he become the 10th and break the all-time record? And then it's like, he scored like the first 15 points of the game for Gonzaga.
I'll admit it, and usually you kind of feel this way, I think, about the Kansas City Chiefs. There's a little Drew Timme fatigue in post-game media sessions for me. It's a little, but you know what? I appreciate him as a player.
It's a good player.
I mean, it's so impressive. The footwork, the touch, yeah.
The ability to switch hands depending on where he is under the basket. Now
he's crafty.
He does do. Do you remember he was a big kisser of the crowd?
Yeah, and now I think it's more of I think he's always been a flexor too, but he likes to stroke the mustache.
Is that the other thing he does?
Yeah, yeah. He was doing that a lot. Which there were moments yesterday I thought about stroking the chest hair.
Okay.
I refrained, but there were a few moments, especially when you made the hair and goatee reference.
I had a guy in college, Mark Dwyer, who had his sternum. He had some sort of I don't know if as a child he had something wrong. And Mark was a good-looking dude, but he had an indentation in his sternum, like it was concaved. And in the fraternity house, he didn't do it all the time, thank goodness. He would eat cereal out of it.
What? Wow. Okay.
He would sit back, and it was concaved enough that he could put cereal and milk in it. And
is it fair to say his stay in Lawrence was about as long as yours?
Yes. Yeah, he was from Fort Collins, Colorado. Or no. Yeah, he was from Fort Collins, Colorado, and I think
you want a pledge here? Yeah, I can eat cereal out of my sternum. Say no more. You're in.
You are exactly right.
You're on the senior wing, actually.
Dwyer later, by the way, like he transferred, I think, back to Colorado State, and like 5 years later, I saw him on Ricky Lake. True story. It was like he was in some sort of love triangle, and he was on Ricky Lake.
That could not be more true, I feel like. Yep.
That is such a
Well, if we're looking for positives, at least you haven't been on Ricky Lake, as far as I know.
That is correct. And I don't eat Fruity Pebbles out of my chest.
No. Not that. But although Boo would think that's pretty cool, probably.
That's right.
We're going to have Bobby Allen, coach of Garin, join us at 9:45 as they get ready for the 3A game coming up tomorrow. Something I think we can maybe chat about tonight, Jake, because I do feel like this weekend is absolutely pivotal. How big do you think the section is of the Pacers fan base that want to see them in the play-in?
10%.
9 to go. They're a game and a half back of Chicago for the 10 seed, which would be the play-in. Again, they have the tiebreaker over Chicago. Curious your thoughts on that, Jake, and then do you think organizationally it is very high and how they maneuver that here over the final 9 games? So we'll chat about that. And the phone lines are open as well, 317-239-1070 if you want to join the conversation. It's an ugly start to this Wednesday from a...
It's a Friday. Wednesday, come on. It's Friday.
Why the hell did I say Wednesday?
You were thinking about the time you were getting ready to take your shirt off.
Well, I was, yes.
In your defense,
Micah Shrewsbury.
In your defense, the best game of the college basketball NCAA tournament last night ended at like 12:45.
I know. Yeah. Not a lot of sleep here on this Friday morning, but again, visibility not ideal. Some rain in the forecast today and Saturday. We'll be back. Kevin and Corey.
Indianapolis is under attack, at war with rampant crime, drugs, and homelessness. But Mayor Hogsett is unwilling to join the fight. In fact, under Mayor Hogsett, Indianapolis now has a murder rate higher than Chicago. Do you feel safe knowing that? But Jefferson Shreve is ready to take back Indianapolis. Jefferson Shreve will put more cops on the street and give them the support they need. We don't have to live like this. Jefferson Shreve is ready to rebuild, restore, and reimagine Indianapolis. He's a winner in business, so he knows how to lead a team to turn things around. No more empty talk. It's time for action. Because another term for Mayor Hogsett is another 4 years of the same problems, only worse. This may send Hogsett a message. Vote for Jefferson Shreve for a change. Paid for by Shreve for Mayor.
My name is Ainsley Flannery, and I am the Eastside Volunteer Coordinator for Agape Therapeutic Riding Center, and I nominated Ava Courtney for Jiffy Lube's Drive to Do More Award.
And I'm Jiffy Lube owner Jennifer Sanner. At Jiffy Lube, we are rewarding Hoosier volunteers who use their vehicle to do more to make Indiana a better place to live.
I'm Ava Courtney. The main thing I enjoy is serving at the barn, being with the horses, and serving my community. By receiving a year's worth of vehicle maintenance, it allows me to continue coming here and can rely on my local Jiffy Lube to make sure my car is running properly.
Each month, Jiffy Lube of Indiana provides a volunteer free vehicle maintenance for a year, whether it's someone who delivers smiles and supplies or drives somewhere to serve on site. Jiffy Lube supports local givers who count on their car to do more for Indy, and we love to hear their stories.
If you know a volunteer who impacts your community, nominate them today to receive a year's worth of free vehicle maintenance. Click the Do More tab at jiffylubeindiana.com.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TIRE for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TIRE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TIRE.
Your neighbor Mark loves spring in Indy, but he hates to paint. So he called Rhino Shield.
It's a two-story home built in 1992. Around 2001, looking at needing to paint, I heard a radio ad, with Rhino Shield, you won't have to paint again for another 25 years.
That's because Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
They're very professional. We had everything done. Everything that would typically be painted on a house was done, and it was very fast.
All right, Indy, get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
It was done in 2001 and still going strong. From what I've seen on our home, they can easily offer a 25-year guarantee and not worry about it.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Don't paint. Don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Rattle, rattle, thunder, clatter, boom, boom, boom.
Finished our taxes. We're going to get some major bucks back.
Great. Just in time to get the car ready for spring break.
Yep, perfect timing. It's not handling right.
Get it to CarX. We can fix it now and then pay off the credit card when the refund comes in.
Brilliant. I knew there was a reason I married you.
CarX is the best in auto repair. They guarantee every part and every repair. Plus, they guarantee the best price in town. So when you need brakes, service, or tires,
don't worry, call the CarX man.
The IHSAA Boys Basketball State Finals. Tomorrow morning at 11 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Look at Tuesday out there.
Beautiful Monday here in Indianapolis. Yeah, certainly does. Speaking of, I guess, days of the week, it's been a busy one for pro days across college football. Jake, is today the pro day of the future Colts quarterback?
Is today Lexington?
Lexington, Kentucky for Will Levis later today.
I do think so. Bryce Young was yesterday, right?
Correct. Bryce Young yesterday. Sounds like that Carolina caravan of people continue to stop at all three of these. Again, C.J. Stroud Wednesday, Bryce Young yesterday, Will Levis today.
Bryce Young does look pretty small.
He's not big. I was as close as you and I are right now to him at the Combine. He is not going to be impressive from a physical stature standpoint.
So what is it about Bryce Young that overly intrigues people, you think?
Poise. Just incredible poise, incredible chaos around him, and he does not seem to crumble, however you want to describe
and a pretty precise passer, right?
Yeah. There's an element of playmaking, certainly. I wouldn't call him some Anthony Richardson type runner, but I just think a whole lot of, I know where to go with the football, and even though I have a lack of height, if things can get muddy in the pocket and things aren't maybe the most ideal, I can make some plays. And Jake, I don't want to act like Alabama had a bunch of you, me, and Sam Fritz at the skill positions this year, but I do think we should acknowledge C.J. Stroud undoubtedly had more offensive talent around him than Bryce Young. I can make the argument, Jake, you will have I'll set it right there. You will have at least 4 Ohio State offensive players drafted before you'll have the first Alabama offensive player drafted. Separate the quarterbacks from that. Both offensive tackles for Ohio State, Jackson Smith and Jigba at receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm throwing into that mix even though he's not eligible. Those 4 and maybe more. Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama, their running back, would probably be the only one that I would put potentially on that list.
I remember saying, and I don't remember where, or thinking maybe, when Josh Allen emerged and really broke through with Buffalo, and you could see that it had come together for him, I remember thinking to myself, this guy's going to make somebody a lot of money. And I think that somebody's going to be Will Levis. Because when Josh Allen was coming out of Wyoming, the narrative on him was, well, he doesn't throw with a lot of accuracy. He's got all the tools. He's athletic. He can run. He's got a strong arm. He can throw the ball 90 yards through a 100-mile-an-hour wind. But, man, his numbers really dropped off in his senior year at Wyoming, and he was inconsistent. And Buffalo looked at it and said, well, his numbers dropped off because his receivers left. And consistency in terms of ball placement can be worked out in reps. But the athleticism, the ability to pull the ball down and run, we can't teach those things. And they went with it. And the fact that, and I realize there are other quarterbacks, a lot of them, that you were waiting for all of that to happen and you ran out of time. But he is still the aftertaste that people have in terms of those experiments. And Will Levis, to me, fits that description. Can make every throw, has a cannon of an arm, athletic, big guy. Well, his numbers weren't exactly where we wanted. His accuracy seems to be kind of all over the map, has a Carson Wentz feel about him. But the upside is, can be Matthew Stafford, can be Josh Allen. I think Levis is going to be, I think there is enough sizzle there to intrigue people.
Yeah, I am not on this anti-Will Levis has mayo in his coffee and I'm never going to talk about him ever again and there's no chance I'd ever want him to play quarterback for my team. I'm not in that camp. I mentioned earlier in the week, he was talking to an NFL scout, not with the Colts, but on a team that I don't think will be in the quarterback market this year. So given that, I felt like it was a pretty honest opinion. And this is a guy that likes Levis more than Richardson. Feels like that junior film is Matthew Stafford-like. I think what other scouts like about Levis is at Kentucky, he had multiple offensive coordinators in NFL-type systems. So that is something that they feel like would be beneficial from just kind of a verbiage standpoint and being able to make somewhat of an early transition. You wouldn't put too much on his plate from an NFL system. Obviously the question becomes how much are those excuses that he had senior year of his own health, the personnel around him, the continued change of coordinators, how much of that is real? Offensive line personnel, the top weapons were gone. He was getting shot up before games just to play. I think there's a lot of that aspect from a toughness standpoint that I could see the Colts liking. Now, having said that, this scout that I was talking to felt like the Colts would be a little bit more enamored with Richardson, considering the traits than they would Levis. But where he goes, Jake, Levis in particular, wild to me. Because we saw Daniel Jeremiah mock draft earlier in the week. He had Will Levis going 17, I think it was, to Tampa.
Yeah.
And Hendon Hooker going like 4 picks later to Minnesota.
I don't think you rule out Hooker either. But I think that if you think that you can slide back
that sounds like a Friday night.
Okay. At least we got the day
I got
right.
my day of the week right there.
I think there are other teams. I think the danger in sliding back and trying to buy one, get one, and by that I mean draft yourself a lineman or edge rusher or corner or whatever at 4, and then say, then we're going to, at like 30, what's our next one, 31?
35.
35. Then at 35 we'll take Hooker, and now we've addressed both needs. I think the danger there is
that's wishful thinking, in my opinion.
It is, and there are 10 other teams with the same thought. Everybody's going to outsmart each other in that regard.
It is interesting that, in terms of Hendon Hooker, he's this guy, fringe first round, potential second round, that is one of the cleaner, safer quarterback prospects by all accounts compared to some of these others. Like, there's probably not as much boom or bust with him. When you think of Jordan Love a few years ago, you think of Lamar Jackson back to 2018, the thought was more boom or bust with those guys. So it's just kind of fascinating to think, if you're, kind of a 9 or 10 win team, like Green Bay, was when they took Love, or even Baltimore was with Lamar Jackson, and they thought, okay, we can wait on that guy. With Hooker, you have the ACL, but again, there doesn't seem like there's like, he needs to sit for 2 years and then he could reach this incredible ceiling of potential. So again, Kentucky's Pro Day is today. Next week, you'll have Anthony Richardson in Florida. We are nearing the start of the Colts offseason program. That'll be on the horizon when April gets here. And gosh, we're just barely a month away from the NFL draft. 9 o'clock hour coming up. Kevin and Corey.
It has no beginning.
The start of something special right here, man. Let's go.
And no end.
Look, you got to get your team ready to play.
It is a constant.
Get a rhythm going.
Through every season.
Come back again.
It is always Colts season. Firing, hiring, free agency, the combine, the schedule, the draft, OTAs, minicamp, training camp, kickoff, the offseason. Questions is a season to be answered for this Colts team. The best Colts coverage is on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Win Golden Gloves amateur boxing tickets to the Tyndall Armory every Thursday, March 16th through April 20th at 1075thefan.com. Thanks to our friends at Moondrops Distillery in Fortville.
This week, it's the Early Bird Special, 20% off all fertilizer and container trees and shrubs at Sundown Gardens in Westfield, 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, sundowngardens.com.
All right, our friends at Window Nation looking to help you out here in the month of March. You can get a little March Madness, of course, but you can also get some savings from Window Nation. Head online to windownation.com or call 866-90-NATION. You are going to notice, certainly, if you haven't already, your energy costs have been rising nationwide. They're up 14%, but it's not too late to fix your high energy bills, all while getting off-season prices from Window Nation. So beat the rush with 2 free windows with every 2 you buy. Plus, you pay 0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. That's 2 years, paying absolutely nothing. So again, call 866-90-NATION. Go online to windownation.com. Beat the rush. 2 free windows with every 2 you buy, plus pay 0 down, make 0 payments, get 0% financing for 24 months. That is Window Nation.
At My Great Clip Salon, I get to use my skills as a stylist to make customers look and feel great. When you sit down in my chair, it's important to me to listen to what you want. And when your haircut's done, I'll save your details and clip notes so you can get the look you love at any Great Clip Salon, anywhere you are. Seeing customers light up at the end of their cut, that's what I love about my job. I'm Katie, and I'm a Great Clip Salon stylist.
Join a salon team. Visit jobs.greatclips.com.
JMV is on the road again. Join him this Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Harrah's Hoosier Park, where they're kicking off their 30th season of live racing. JMV at Harrah's Hoosier Park this Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Be there.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis. The Astros host the White Sox in the Major League Baseball season opener, Thursday evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
9 o'clock hours underway. It is 9:03. That's my birthday. Not right now. My birthday's September 3rd. Couple of house cleaning items, as we mentioned earlier. Last night, Kevin, you were with Jack Daniels as part of a Pop-A-Shot competition, right? That takes place with people having the opportunity to register, come out and play Pop-A-Shot, get a score recorded for a chance for a little cash, correct?
Yeah, over at All-Star Sports Lounge, 56 in Georgetown. New place, really cool. Great setup on the inside. I think they're kind of in the midst of a soft opening this week and should be full go here pretty soon. So in that area, you obviously venture over to that area a whole lot with the Colts complex. So not a lot like that in that kind of general west side range. So cool area to have a spot like that. And you're going to be at certainly one of my old stomping grounds tonight, right?
The old BRT, Broadable Tavern. I'll be there from 6 until 8 o'clock tonight for exactly that. Come out. What a great night to do it, because there's going to be college basketball on, so watch some basketball, play the Pop-A-Shot, register, have a Jack Daniels, and we'll have fun. From 6 until 8 o'clock tonight at the Broadable Tavern is where I will be. Also, last night you mentioned soft openings. Kind of serendipitously, last night we had dinner, and it was really good. Georgia Street Rhythm and Blues Lounge, which is in the old Burger Study location.
Really?
But they have live music every night.
Curious what was going to go in there.
Yeah, they have live music every night, blues and rhythm and blues music, and the sliders that I had were fantastic. It was really a good spot. Also, and I know this is a very limited scope, but thank you to the station here for letting me do this. But WJEL is where I started, if you will, doing radio when I was in high school. That's the North Central High School, Washington Township radio station, 89.3 on your FM dial. And at noon, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. White, who is back as the interim principal at North Central. I know a lot of people, a lot of parents in the area curious, how long is he going to do this? Why has he decided to come back out of retirement? Is it possible he's the permanent principal? Those are some of the things I hope to ask him and find out about. That's at noon today. Kevin, we were talking about the NBA, and last night, of course, the Pacers taking on Boston tonight. 6:30, you can hear the pregame with Mark and Pat talking about the Pacers-Celtics game, tip-off at 7. And the Pacers are in kind of that gray area is the wrong way of putting it, but they're right there on waiting to see if they fall into the playoffs or move into the playoffs, I guess you'd say, or stay in the lottery. Now, should we do a tankathon here?
Sure.
And this time when we do the tankathon, I want to look not only at who the Pacers are going to end up with, but also some of the other players of the local interest where they may be seeing their names roughly. I do think these things are pretty accurate based on scouts and
where are they right now?
Anticipation. They are right now.
Definitely not 6th anymore.
I think they are 9th.
9th in the
No, they are
lottery.
8th. The Pacers are 8th. So doing the tankathon with the second pick in the 2023 NBA Tankathon mock draft.
Stop the fight.
The Indiana Pacers select, wrong wording, Brandon Miller from the University of Alabama.
Yeah, he would certainly address a need. Obviously, there'd be some questions off the floor as well. I think Brandon Miller is just an incredible talent and would fit really a lot of what the Pacers are looking for on the floor. It does seem like the old Scoot Henderson name, Jake, is waned a little bit.
Yeah, he seems to have fallen back just a little, right?
And again, I don't know, when you draft that high, do you go off of positional value or fit, I should say, but you kind of have a lot of guards.
Other names of interest and where they're kind of slotting right now. Chris Murray of Iowa, 15th. Jalen Hood-Schifino, 17th. He's gone in that case, right? Marcus Sasser out of Houston, 26th to Indiana.
Is Murray the only, or Murray and Hood-Schifino the only Big Ten guys?
No, there's an Ohio State.
Is Jet Howard up there?
Let's see here. Hang on just a second.
Sensenball from Ohio State.
Sensenball's 14th. Jet Howard, 16th out of Michigan.
So he declared yesterday.
So he would go 16th. Now, you have to go into the second round. Pacers taking Noah Clowney out of Alabama as well at 32. And then you roll down a little bit more. 38th is where they have Trace Jackson Davis slotted. Again, this just gives you an idea of kind of what the anticipation is of where players rank. Zach Edey's name now finally appearing, 45th.
Interesting. The Pacers are going to get Cleveland's first-round pick, by the way. Yeah, I know this time last year we were kind of debating that. Cleveland is just on the verge of clinching a top 6 seed, not going to be in the play-in like they were last year. So that's good news on that end. So the Karis LeVert trade will turn into a first-rounder. Yes, that pick will be, in the 20s, and the Boston pick's probably going to be late 20s.
This says with that pick they would take, I hope I'm saying this right, Sidi Sissoko out of France.
Sissoko. Doesn't Michigan State have a big dude named Sissoko as well?
Do they?
Pretty sure.
CISS?
But you said France. I think they would list his college before his country.
This guy's in the G League.
Okay, so obviously not the same guy. So the Pacers are going to have 3 first-round picks. Again, we'll see where they fall in terms of the lottery, and I do think it's worth mentioning. And credit to the Pacers. You can, and again, I'm of the belief right now that trying to improve the lottery standing should be the move. I understand that you put players on the floor and these players are not going to purposely miss shots and turn the ball over. I think that seems rather obvious to everyone. So right now, the Pacers are in 11th place in the East, so they are out of the play-in. They are 1.5 games back of the Bulls for 10th and 2 back of the Raptors for 9th. They have the head-to-head tiebreaker over both of those teams. Now, the Pacers do have one of the hardest schedules in the league here to close out the season. It's at Boston tonight. It's in Atlanta tomorrow. But they are knocking on potentially creeping into the play-in. I asked Scott Agnes that question yesterday, Jake, and I'll throw it to you. Tyrese Halliburton's questionable in the injury report tonight. This time last year, Malcolm Brogdon was questionable and never played. This time last year, Miles Turner was questionable and never played. Are we there with Tyrese Halliburton?
I think so.
So you would be surprised if he played?
I wouldn't be surprised. Let me rephrase that. It's not that I would be surprised if he plays. I would be understanding if he did not. Does that make sense?
Should anyone else be on that list? Should Miles Turner start to appear on that list?
I don't know that. No. Turner, I think. Turner has missed so much time intermittently throughout the last few years that I think anytime you can get him out there and just get him going, you do so. And I don't know that. Halliburton is the straw mixing the drink, man. And if he's got anything. So I don't know how bad his ankle is. What's interesting, though, is we went to the game last weekend, Saturday night, we went to the game, and Halliburton, his thing now is he wears the pants that are a little short. And Shannon's brother Ryan said, he's got huge ankles. Look how big his ankles are. And I thought, that's a weird thing to say. And then it comes out, he's got a sprained ankle or something was allegedly.
That balloon like that?
Well, that's what I have no idea. I told Ryan, I said, you got to have the greatest doctor eye ever, because I don't know that they'd said anything about him having an ankle. Now, does he really have an ankle issue? I don't know. But my point being, if I'm the Pacers at this point with Tyrese Halliburton in particular, if there is a single hangnail that is sore, I rest him.
Yeah, and I think the other issue, too, from a play-in standpoint is, if you're 10 or you're 9, well, let's just say if you're 10, you're on the road for that first play-in game. If you lose... Well, if you win, I should say, you still are not guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. Then you're going on the road again to try and be the 8th seed, and Jake, the 8th seed, plays Milwaukee in the first round. I understand that this roster has very few guys that have been in the postseason, very few guys that have played meaningful playoff games. Will there be some benefit there? Yes. But I still look at the current group and think they need one more major piece. Because when Tyrese Halliburton has not played this season, the Pacers have largely struggled. You go around the league and you look at the teams that are in kind of the top half of their respective conferences. When they lose their best player, it doesn't look like as bad as the Pacers have been without Halliburton. So I think you need another kind of lead piece to go along with Halliburton and Mathurin. And when you start to get finicky with kind of, could they draft 6th? Could they draft 9th? I mean, Jake, just look at last year. Benedict Mathurin would have been Johnny Davis or Dyson Daniels if you would have won some games late in the season. That would probably change your outlook and your opinion on the Pacers. That is the concern that I have if you start to win games. You can obviously point to drafts where the 11th pick or the 12th pick have been better than the 7th or the 8th. But again, I want to be in control as much as possible. And then you can maneuver with those other 2 first-round picks because that's the beauty of it. You've got 3 first-round picks and possibly one of the top picks in the second round from Houston. There's no way you should spend 4 picks on rookies. Package those picks together and try and move up and draft 2 of them.
You know, I'm really kind of curious. So many of the names that we talked about last year around the draft, like when the Pacers were getting ready to draft, I mean, you were all in on Benedict Mathurin from the get-go. But I'm curious where some of the other guys, like what they're doing, you know what I mean, in terms of their stats. Like Shaedon Sharpe, for example. Remember how much we talked about him? Because he was so intriguing because he hadn't played much at Kentucky. Good Lord, the NBA website, you try to pull up stats, forget about it. Let me pull up Shaedon Sharpe here. But Dyson Daniels, I thought Dyson Daniels was the guy they were going to go with.
No one's had a worse rookie year than Johnny Davis.
Isn't that, I hate to say this, doesn't it feel like that's always the case with like guards out of Wisconsin?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Devin Harris had a decent career, but
okay, Shaedon Sharpe. I think he got hurt early, did he not?
That sounds right.
Shaedon Sharpe has played in 71 games. He has started 6 of them. He averages 20.5 minutes per game and 8 points. Okay.
And I guess we probably should be fair, Jake. Like, Shaedon Sharpe didn't play college basketball. You know, Benedict Mathurin did play 2 years. And obviously it was a really, really key piece to Arizona. So I always just thought one of the greatest things about Mathurin was you saw great ability out of him at Arizona, but you also knew that this was a dude that, based off his age and based off how he's wired, there was still more there. And you watch him play this season. That's why I thought the ankle injury was really disappointing a few weeks ago. I felt like he was making some strides more as a kind of like a playmaker. You know, at times he's bowling a china shop, and then I feel like as the year moved along, he started to be a little bit more, delicate's not the right word in the china shop, but he wasn't knocking everything over. Okay, hey, maybe I should get in the lane and swing it out to, you know, Aaron Nesmith in the corner. Or maybe I should try and not necessarily just barrel into traffic and get to the foul line. Those were some strides that I thought he was taking. And again, I think he can continue to take. Do you like that the NBA does the play-in?
Interesting. I was relatively had no opinion about it for the most part until the Pacers now all of a sudden are kind of flirting with it, and so it becomes intriguing. It adds an element of intrigue. For the most part, no, I would say it doesn't mean much to me. But
weren't they in it a couple years ago, right? And
yeah, they were actually in it, right?
Charlotte, they won the first game, then
correct,
blown out they blew out Charlotte, then they lost the Wizards. Does that sound right?
I think that's right, yep. Dyson Daniels, by the way, 51 games played for the Pelicans. He has started 11 of them. He averages 18 minutes a game, 3.9 points, and 2 assists. 4 points, 2 assists per game.
The West is wild right now. Seeds 4 through 12. So in that order, Phoenix, the Clippers, the Warriors, Timberwolves, Dallas, Lakers, Pelicans, and then just outside of the playoffs, the Thunder and the Jazz. Those 9 teams are separated by 3 games.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And Jake, that is from a team in Phoenix as the 4 seed
and
hosting.
Portland's only 3 behind that.
Hosting a first-round series to Utah's probably what, like 7th in the draft standings?
Yeah.
3 games. with about 9 to go.
And how about the fact in the West? I mean, literally, the West right now, the top 3 seeds are like 3 of the most obscure franchises, historically speaking. The Nuggets, the Grizzlies, and the Kings.
The NBA is like, we cannot have those markets in the NBA Finals.
Can you imagine if the NBA Finals is Sacramento and Milwaukee? Or Sacramento and Cleveland?
I would say Cleveland without, at least
LeBron,
Giannis.
Kyrie, less. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm all aboard the Kings train here come playoff time.
I like the Kings, man. I'm telling you.
I keep on forgetting Mike Brown's their coach.
I like the Kings. And they've got, look, Sabonis has played unbelievably well, and De'Aaron Fox is really good. De'Aaron Fox is a really good player. Really, really good player for them.
We'll do the pop quiz here in about 10. Freebie Friday, Jiffy Lube oil change coming your way. And then Bobby Allen, head coach of Guerin. They're in the 3A state finals coming up tomorrow. He's going to join us to close out the show. Jake, I think I'm locking it in. I think I'm taking both the 5 seeds to cover tonight. 7.5-point underdog, San Diego State. 7.5-point underdog, Miami.
Okay.
And you said you like Texas big?
I think Texas is going to win tonight. I think Texas is really good. I think nobody talks about Texas. I think they're really good.
Do you still have your... I totally spaced. Do you still have your champion left?
I do. Well, are we looking at like the... I have one pool that I'm in with a bunch of friends from high school.
Are you multiple bracket guy?
Well, no, I'm not. I have one, I'm multiple pool guy because friends from high school and then the listener pool, and that's it. And then I actually did, when the bracket first came out, I did just like the first glance bracket. And in that one in the West, I've only missed one game. But in the lower left, I've only gotten 2 correct. So it kind of balances out. In our bracket challenge, the Kevin and Corey bracket challenge, I currently sit 300 and... Oh, no, that's points. Let's see. I'd like to know who's ahead or behind between the two of us. I have Alabama winning.
Oh, I've got to be way behind. I had Arizona.
I rank 268th. What do we have, like 350?
What'd you say you are, 260-something?
268.
Oh, wow. Shockingly, I am higher. I'm 208.
I have, let's see, this is really hard to figure out who you picked.
I've got UConn and Houston still left. And I guess I have Alabama winning another game. Oh, I forgot I had Creighton in the Elite Eight. So
my Final Four, I had UConn. This can't be right. What am I looking at here? This says that my Final Four that I had UConn, Gonzaga, Kansas State, and Florida Atlantic. There's no way that's correct.
Should I take off my shirt to get us back on track?
Yes, please. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I'm looking at whoever is leading.
You coming over tomorrow to watch Notre Dame women? 11:30. You can bring Boo. Rosie and Max.
I have to find Boo first. That's going to be half the challenge.
If I gave you right now, I assume I know your answer. If I gave you the right side of the bracket or the left side, what would you take?
I would take the right.
So the right side would give you the winner of Houston, Miami, the winner of Texas Xavier. Then you'd have Gonzaga and UConn. The left side, you have the number 1 overall seed in Alabama, Florida Atlantic.
I think between Gonzaga, Connecticut, and then Houston, Miami, you're in pretty good shape, right? Because I do think that Alabama's probably the best team left, Kevin, and they are the most explosive for certain. But there just is a lot of, and all of these teams I think are really good, clearly, if you're at this point. I think Kansas State's probably way better than people give them credit. And the same may be true of Creighton.
Well, I mean, Kansas State, Jake, that's the best conference in college basketball this year. Big 12 is the best conference, and that's a team that obviously struggled early in the year. I mean, hell, Butler beat them by 12 at Hinkle, and they've got a hell of a guard. Marquise Noel is a hell of a player. It'll be Kansas State and FAU coming up Saturday night. Let's lead off the morning checkdown talking about the Owls.
The morning checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Jake, on the FAU bench, you've got the pride of Eastern Green. That would be not John Michael Vincent, but it will be Dusty May. Next to him, Todd Abernathy, Clay Junior High legend back in the day. You've got some Indiana flavor. John L. Davis, their leading scorer from Gary. Here was Dusty May last night on Florida after Florida Atlantic. Really won a physical game, a very low-scoring game, and came back and beat Tennessee.
It's awesome for our university, our athletic department, and our community, and we are extremely proud to represent them. Our guys have done it with professionalism all year, and so it's awesome for everyone, especially as we've put a lot of time. These guys have put a lot of work, elbow grease into building a program, and so for it to be to this point, it's very rewarding, but we'll focus on all that later after the season.
Thought it was a solid effort by the Owls because they were down at the half, came back 62-55. Florida Atlantic advances. Again, the one big game last night that probably got glossed over pretty quickly when people talking about games, 88-65 UConn over Arkansas. Connecticut looks awfully, awfully strong, the 4-seed Danny Hurley's bunch. And then the two big slugfests, if you will. Kansas State, 98-93 over Michigan State. That one went in overtime, and Kansas State was just poised down the stretch. And then Gonzaga and UCLA was the ultimate game. It was like watching a volleyball match because in volleyball, one team there's no sport that's more momentum-driven than volleyball, and that's what UCLA Gonzaga felt like.
Look at that. We have Matty Bowen call in, and you two can chat a little volleyball here.
Volleyball's great to watch.
It is. It's super entertaining. Yeah, it was an awesome game. Again, I was struggling to stay awake, but just the haymakers they threw back and forth at each other helped that cause. Brief rundown on what happened. UCLA up 13.5. Gonzaga comes storming back in the second half. They're up 10 with 2:30 to go. They start showing Adam Morrison. They start talking about the 2006 collapse when these two teams met. Gonzaga had a huge lead late, blew it. Morrison's crying on the floor. Gonzaga just slowly, that 10-point lead wilts entirely away. Drew Timme just bricks 2 free throws with about 20 seconds to go. UCLA comes down and hits a 3 to take the lead. Sam, if you don't mind, cue up the Julian Strother eventual game winner clip. Gonzaga, with 12 seconds to go, inbounds the ball. They don't get Drew Timme a touch. They instead shoot one from the logo.
Offensive glass. Chances are you'll get more than one opportunity. Walker for the lead.
I mean, he's on the S in March Madness. That is a long shot.
He took it from Reno, and he cashed in.
It was kind of smart, though, because if you miss that and the odds are the rebound goes long, then you get it to, then you've got a chance. But I think they just went like, hey, let's go.
Jake, imagine if that was IU or Purdue and Zach Edey or Trace Jackson-Davis don't get a touchdown one with 12 seconds to go.
Fair. If it's Indiana or Purdue, though, they don't have necessarily the versatility of outside scoring and the reliability. That's, I realized that Gonzaga this year was blown out by Purdue. I totally get it. And I know that Jalen Hood-Schifino had moments this year where he played well. And Zach Edey and Trace Jackson-Davis are two of the best players in college basketball. But I have to admit, when I watched, in particular, Gonzaga and UCLA and the pace in which they play, and for that matter, Michigan State and Kansas State, and and I know, again, I realize that Michigan State is in the Big Ten. I get it. And I know that this perception or feeling is not necessarily reality, but it felt to me like I was watching just an entirely different level of college basketball. Of like, yeah, I don't know if those two schools, there just seems to be a huge gap there.
It's probably easy to say considering they've won their games by 23, 15, and 24, or whatever the exact numbers are. But, Jake, UConn has got a great big dude. Sonogo's a great big guy. Look at what they have around him. They are skilled. They are versatile. They are interchangeable. They can switch everything. Any of them can handle it. Many of them can shoot it. They can attack. It's really a well-built, again, kind of team around the big. So it's fine to have a great big guy, of course. It can be super helpful. And Sonogo's been great for UConn all year long, but especially in this tournament. But I think that's what lacking with Purdue and Indiana. Different levels of it. But certainly, you watch UConn play, and that's a team I'm like, whew.
By the way,
now,
can you see Riley Towers?
They look like boy, it's disappeared, hasn't it, Sam Fritz? Yeah, it has.
You can
totally
barely see the monument, right?
I could see Riley Towers earlier in the show. You know my sister-in-law lives in there?
Really?
Mm-hmm. Nice spot.
Are they still pretty nice? I mean, they're like...
Yeah.
It's a cool joint for sure.
Yeah, she's a nurse over at Riley. It's perfect for her. Yeah, she really enjoys Riley Towers. Yeah, UConn Gonzaga. Whew. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, can you imagine? That's going to be 150 to 135.
That'll be in Vegas, 8:49 Saturday night. The early game in Madison Square Garden, Florida Atlantic and Kansas State. Again, Pacers and Celtics tonight. Our coverage begins at 6:30 right here on the Fan. Tomorrow, the early tip in Atlanta for the Pacers. That's 5 o'clock as they, I would say the minimum, need a split to kind of keep realistic hopes alive and trying to get to the play-in here this season. All right, it's time for the pop quiz. It's Freebie
Get your
Friday.
air conditioner ready for spring and the hot summer ahead. On the South Side, call Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling. Call themarshallnow.com, your American Standard Air dealer.
Guys, solve your ED today with an intimacy guarantee. Only at the Indianapolis Men's Clinic. If you don't perform, you don't pay. Call the Indianapolis Men's Clinic at 999-9000. 999-9000.
Hey everyone, it's Jake from Payless Liquors. Charlie said sell it, so stock up for the weekend with these hot prices. Old Forester 86 proof half gallons for $31.99. Jim Beam half gallons for $24.89. Fireball half gallons for $21.99. Canadian Club half gallons for $14.99. Woodbridge 1.5 liters for $9.99. And De Kuyper variety packs for 99 cents. Look out for the new Sunny D vodka seltzers and High Noon tequila 4-packs available now. Why pay more when you can pay less here at Payless Liquors?
The college basketball season is heating up, which means it's time for the Wendy's Wooden Watch. You see, in 2002, I was honored to have received the John R. Wooden Player of the Year Award, which is presented to the country's most outstanding men's and women's player, who is also making progress towards earning a degree. This year, players like Drew Timme, Armando Bacot, Aaliyah Boston, and Caitlin Clark are vying for the trophy. So who will take it home? The 2023 John R. Wooden Men's and Women's Player of the Year is presented by Wendy's.
Wendy's 2 for $6 lets you mix and match some of our best items, like Dave Single with a 10-piece crispy nugs, medium strawberry lemonade with a spicy chicken sandwich, spicy chicken with a Dave Single with a strawberry lemonade, if you're into that. Chicken Sam, crispy nugs, strawberry lemonade, Dave's, nugs, Sam. Whew! Pick what you want at a price you want. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's 2 for $6. For limited time, price participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's. On the card only. Single item at regular price.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay? Between you and me, it was lower testosterone. Lower T? Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference. Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real? For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids. Everyone has noticed a change in me. Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves? Yes, just send them a text.
Guys, text HEFTY to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HEFTY to 321-321. That's HEFTY to 321-321.
Hi, it's Bob from Royal Spa. Soaking in a hot tub full of Epsom salts is the absolute best way to minimize everyday aches and pains. And we know all about Epsom salts at Royal Spa. Royal Spa hot tubs are the only hot tubs on the market that can safely and effectively use Epsom salts. Made right here in Indiana, Royal Spa hot tubs are the highest quality hot tubs on the market. Visit any one of our 3 Indianapolis locations or visit royalspa.com.
Ah, Royal Spa.
Talking about hopefully Indiana and Purdue in the Sweet 16. Incredibly disappointing. The #1 seed losing to a 16 seed. Historic level of choke collapse.
To watch Purdue players literally run from the basketball.
If you're talking about it.
In terms of IU not competing.
IU needs a hype coach.
You say a hype coach?
We're talking about it.
They were rattled. Your home for Indy Sports. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. Have you studied? Can you handle the fresher. Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
Okay, Kevin, I figured it out. On our bracket on the ESPN website.
This pop quiz is so doable.
I have a Final Four in my bracket. Not that anybody cares, but I'm going to tell you anyway. My predicted Final Four when this came out.
I'm going to read you my fantasy football team next.
Yeah, no kidding. I had Marquette, UCLA, Alabama, and Texas.
You still got 2?
Yeah, but
you got the top. Should have had UConn winning it all. What was I thinking of Arizona? I think the pop quiz. Have you seen this pop quiz, Jake, yet?
No, let me check here.
Very, very manageable. Sam Fritz, give us a number 1 through 8.
I think this whole week we haven't gone with 4 yet, so I'm going to say 4, which would happen to be Ryan.
Ryan, good morning.
Hi, guys.
Ryan, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Good. Ryan, how's the bracket?
Oh man, I'm a Purdue guy, so imagine my bracket.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Now, Ryan, are you like me in the fact that, like, I know that Purdue absolutely mauled Gonzaga at the beginning of the year. But when I was watching last night, Gonzaga and UCLA, and then like Michigan State and Kansas State, certainly Connecticut, I watch it and I think to myself, and this is not a knock on Purdue or Indiana or Butler or anything else. I think this is just natural. But when I was watching it, I was thinking, this feels like a completely different level than what I've been watching all year in the Big Ten. And I know Michigan State's a Big Ten team, but does that make sense, though?
No, absolutely. I mean, the Big Ten is such a tough conference. I think those teams are all just coached to beat each other. And then when you venture outside the Big Ten, it's a whole other game.
And the pace is just, good Lord.
Oh, yeah.
17 Big Ten teams the last 2 years in the tournament, none to the Elite Eight, just 3 to the Sweet 16. All right, Ryan, it is Freebie Friday. I think you're going to do very well in the pop quiz, but just in case you don't go 5 for 5, stay on the line. You will get a Jiffy Lube oil change. Jake, you want to lead off?
Sure. I will go with question number 1 for you here. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Of the 4 schools that advanced to the Elite Eight last night of the NCAA tournament, only one has previously won the NCAA tournament. Is it Gonzaga, Florida Atlantic, Connecticut, or Kansas State?
Connecticut.
Yep.
All right, number 2.
I mean, come on. That was like...
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a right-handed layup on like an 8-foot goal there. Number 2, assuming you're right-handed, I guess. Name the only player in the NCAA men's basketball tournament history with 10 or more 20-point games in his tournament career. Have you listened to the show today, Ryan?
Briefly. I just got to work, so might have missed it.
Is it A, Lou Alcindor, B, Bill Walton, C, Christian Laettner, or D, Drew Timme?
I'll say Laettner.
Now, let me say this, if I may.
Did you look up the all-time points, by the way?
Oftentimes, I couldn't find it. Oftentimes, in these situations, you look at it and say, which name would only be on this list if it was the correct answer, because seemingly it doesn't fit with the others. Lou Alcindor, Bill Walton, Christian Laettner, Drew Timme.
Hey, this Timme guy is pretty good, I heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The weather's so dreary, I couldn't agree more with giving a hint there, Jake. I'm just so done with this. All right, Ryan, number 3. Marquise Noel had 19 assists in Kansas State's overtime win over Michigan State last night, setting a new NCAA tournament record. Whose record did he break? A, Earl Watson, former Pacer, right? B, Mark Wade, C, Ja Morant, or D, Keith Smart?
Say Earl Watson.
Was Keith Smart like a big-time point guard like that? Like distributing it like
Interesting.
that?
Not in that game against Auburn. He had 15 of them against Auburn in a 107-90 win at the Dome. That was kind of an anomaly.
Okay.
That was so long ago, though, wasn't it? Wasn't that like in 87?
That was 87, yep.
I think most of your listeners weren't even alive then.
What about yourself? How old a fella are you?
I'm 48.
Okay, so you were alive?
Yeah, I was.
You don't remember it. What's your excuse? Just kidding. You're a Purdue fan, right?
Ryan, I was 2 years away from the womb, man.
You're a Purdue grad. All right, that's cool. All right, here we go. Question number 4. But it is a fair point, Ryan. It is absolutely a fair point. I totally get what you're saying, believe you me. All right, question number 4. Happy 53rd birthday to former Colts kicker Mike Vanderjagt. He was the Colts kicker for 8 seasons before spending his final season with which NFL team, and which he had a custom-made pool in his new home with the logo of this team at the bottom of the pool, and it was finished like a week before they released him. Cowboys, Seahawks, Falcons, or Dolphins?
That would be America's least favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, good work there, Ryan.
Okay.
All right, number 5 to close it out. Ironically, the idiot kicker shares a birthday with Peyton Manning. 47 years old for Peyton today. Peyton's 14 postseason wins in his career ties him for the 3rd most in NFL history. We know Tom Brady has 35 postseason wins, which I think is more than every NFL franchise, besides the Patriots, of course. Ryan, who is second on the all-time postseason wins list? Montana, Elway, Favre, or Bradshaw?
Elway. No, Bradshaw, sorry.
How about one more?
Can I have the floor again?
Yeah, Montana or Favre?
Think about Ted's career.
Montana. Okay.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Ryan, one of the things that I most like about you, aside from the fact that you're a Purdue fan, because I'm cool with that, is the fact that you are under the assumption that the average listening age of our audience is under the age of 38.
I assume it's older.
36.
But I just love the dig, almost 40 years ago.
I mean, it's a totally fair point.
Ryan, who's your favorite Purdue player of all time? I feel like I maybe have asked you this before.
Yeah, it's Big Dog.
Yeah.
Hard to argue.
Yeah, he was there when I was there, so I actually know him, so it's a good.
How
good
about
deal.
this, Ryan?
Where's Glenn Robinson Jr. playing these days?
Is he in Europe?
Is he?
Is he?
How about this, Ryan? How many basketball programs, how many Division I basketball programs have been to an Elite Eight since Indiana?
All of them?
How many
Except
different?
Purdue?
Just give me a number.
Purdue has
60.
You are darn good, man. It's 58. It will be 59 tonight when either Creighton or Princeton goes, and if San Diego State wins tonight, it will be 60. That is impressive. That, my friend, shows that you are, in fact, an Indiana hater. Okay, here we go. Question number 1. Of the 4 schools advancing to the Elite Eight, the one that has won the NCAA tournament, of course, is 4-time champion, the University of Connecticut.
Ryan actually had a pretty good pop quiz outside of question 3. A little hint here, but yeah, Drew Timme, 10 or more 20-point tournament games. No one's done that besides him.
Now, funny enough, you went with Earl Watson, who had 16 assists for UCLA against Maryland in 2000, and you made, certainly, as I said, a valid joke about Keith Smart's game being like should be in the Smithsonian with its age. It actually was the same season, though. After Indiana defeated Auburn in that game in which Keith Smart had 15 assists, a couple rounds later in the Final Four, they played UNLV. Armand Gilliam and Freddie Banks both went over 35, and as a result of that, Mark Wade had 18 assists for the Running Rebels. Stay on the line, though, because it is a Freebie Friday. Dallas Cowboys correct for Mike Vanderjagt, and Joe Montana is correct.
All right, we will close it out with Bobby Allen, the head coach of Garin Catholic. They're playing for the 3A state title tomorrow. As Greg Rakestraw said with us earlier, he can become the 5th person in state history to win a state championship as a player and as a coach. Don Carlisle could do the same tomorrow with Ben Davis. So we'll talk with the legend, Bobby Allen, next.
Indianapolis, do you have old, ugly, or even damaged concrete? Not sure what to do about it, but you know you need to do something? Well, you need to call Galaxy Concrete Coatings. This product is out of this world, and it's right here in Indianapolis. And just in time to give your concrete floors a transflormation. Galaxy Concrete Coatings is 4 times stronger than epoxy. It's designed to not only work on your garage floor, but you can use it on driveways, walkways, around your pool or patio, commercial or residential. And it's UV resistant, which means it will not yellow. And even better, it can be ready to go in about 24 hours. Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com or call 317-751-9070. Indy, you're ready for a transflormation. Call Galaxy Concrete Coatings today, 317-751-9070. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. They are out of this world.
Indianapolis is under attack.
at war with rampant crime, drugs, and homelessness. But Mayor Hogsett is unwilling to join the fight. In fact, under Mayor Hogsett, Indianapolis now has a murder rate higher than Chicago. Do you feel safe knowing that? But Jefferson Shreve is ready to take back Indianapolis. Jefferson Shreve will put more cops on the street and give them the support they need. We don't have to live like this. Jefferson Shreve is ready to rebuild, restore, and reimagine Indianapolis. He's a winner in business, so he knows how to lead a team to turn things around. No more empty talk. It's time for action. Because another term for Mayor Hogsett is another 4 years of the same problems, only worse. This may send Hogsett a message. Vote for Jefferson Shreve for a change. Paid for by Shreve for Mayor.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-484-5131 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-484-5131. That's 800-484-5131. What do you have to lose? Call 800-484-5131. Again, 800-484-5131.
Hey guys, looking for a reason to spend 3 days on the couch watching basketball? Schedule your vasectomy at Urology of Indiana for a Thursday or Friday, then sit back, relax, and catch some games over the weekend while you recover. It may be the only time your wife approves of hoarding the couch and the remote control. Vasectomies at Urology of Indiana are simple and typically take only about 15 minutes. Soon after, you'll be out the door and on your way home. During your recovery, you'll take ibuprofen and be back to your normal activities in 3 days. The docs at Urology of Indiana are board certified and perform vasectomies every day of the week, all year long. They're pros at what they do. And they have multiple vasectomy clinics, so chances are good there's one close to you. If you've been putting off your vasectomy, now is the time. You'll never have a better excuse to watch basketball. Call Urology of Indiana or visit vasectomyindy.com for information and to schedule an appointment. That's vasectomyindy.com.
Can you handle the truth about your problem gambling? Is your truth missing work or important events in your life due to gambling? Do you brag about your gambling wins but hide your losses to the people you care about the most? Is gambling a way to escape pressures from home or work? If problem gambling is your truth, text INGAMB to 53342. Again, text INGAMB to 53342. Or face problem gambling by calling 800-9-WITH-IT. That's 800-994-8448.
The Pacers are in Boston to take on the Celtics this evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Jake, our next guest, my first period comp teacher at Cathedral High School. Easily one of the finest educators I've ever come across. Still have not forgiven him for a runner-up finish in the Knightstown golf outing at Royal Highlands, the Augusta National of Eastern Indiana. That had to be a half dozen years ago. But more importantly, he's on the show because tomorrow night he is coaching the Garin Catholic, I think Golden Eagles, does that sound right? I believe so. In the 3A state championship game, and is looking to become the fifth person in state history to win a state title as a player and as a coach. He is Bobby Allen, and he joins us now. I guess I got to call you Coach because this is like an official sports show. Coach, congrats. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing? That was an amazing introduction there. I appreciate that. But I will tell you that Knightstown championship is still under review, so don't give up hope on that.
Yeah, I feel like you're still at the scores table. I feel like I'm watching a college basketball game. You've gone there about 6 times. You're talking to the locals, and I don't think we're ever going to get that trophy. Having said that, hopefully a blue medal for you tomorrow night. We talked earlier in the show with Greg Rakestraw. It's been quite the tournament run for you guys. I know probably all the games haven't felt like double-digit margins to you, but when the tournament started, do you think this was possible to be playing here on the final Saturday in March?
Wow. We always believed that we had the talent to make a run. But we went through some ups and downs throughout the season where we kept questioning what we were doing. I mean, we changed our offense 3 or 4 times just trying to figure out the right combination. And I'll tell you what, we won 8 straight games now, and the guys have figured out what their role is. And the most entertaining part, I think, for me and our coaching staff right now is that we can still get better. And that has kept everyone fully dialed into what we're doing every day in practice right now.
You know, this might kind of, to parlay off that, you might have just kind of answered this question, Coach, but you're interesting in terms of your career to me because you've coached, you know, in private schools, you've coached in a township school, you've coached in a small town school in Knightstown. I mean, Knightstown, LC, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously now at Garin, you've been a couple of different places, Cathedral, obviously, as Kevin mentioned, in different roles. Does the game, in terms of the coaching and the X's and O's of it, is it dictated by and the style of play changed by the size of the school and the area of the school? Or, in fact, is basketball just basketball and you teach the same thing no matter where you are?
I like to think that basketball is basketball, but, you know, of course, you deal with the talent you have, and you make adjustments based on the players you have and what they can do. But, I mean, when I was younger, I was JV coach at Cathedral. I mean, I thought I could out-coach anybody. It didn't matter who I have. I thought I could go out there and do whatever I did. And I just thought I could outwork people and outcoach them and get wins that way. But when I went to Knightstown, I was 27 years old, and I learned real quick by some veteran coaches that I did not know what I was doing yet. But, you know, I think obviously some of the bigger schools have, you know, they have amazing talent, but the guys that we have on our team right now, I would take them up against anybody right now. I'll either go down with them or I'll celebrate with them in the end.
He's Bobby Allen again. 3A state finals coming up tomorrow night. That will be Garin against Northwood over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Coach, obviously you have fond memories from your playing days in the state championship. Slightly different venue. Curious, again, I know the venue is different, but walking into Gamebridge Fieldhouse yesterday for practice or, you know, any recollections, any memories to thinking back to when you guys won it all back at Cathedral?
Yeah, when I was a junior that year in 98, we actually had our 25-year anniversary. Rakestraw was the MC the other night at the IHSA Hall of Fame banquet. Being around former players and former coaches, man, it's like it's like it happened yesterday. One of the things I do remember, though, the RCA Dome, the locker rooms were just so far away. They gave us like an extra 10 minutes on top of the original 10 minutes just to run to our locker room back at the RCA Dome. That's when they cut it in half, and they had the big curtain up. But, you know, yesterday we got off the bus. We had practice at 9 a.m. All the boys were huddled up. We got the instructions on what to do. I was able to take my youngest boy, Everett, with me there. And the phones were out. Pictures were taken. Guys were looking up to the rafters, and we took it all in for the first part of the morning yesterday. But we talked in the locker room before we took the court yesterday, and we had a 55-minute practice that was one of the most intense, focused practices that we've had all year.
For those that haven't seen you guys play, describe the style that they're going to see tomorrow night.
You know, we're going to do our best to control the tempo tomorrow night. We want to run. We want to get out and run and move the ball in transition, but that's keyed by our defense. And our guys know they want to play that way. And we kind of made an agreement early on. I said, look, if you guys can get a stop, you guys can go do whatever you want. And they've embraced that. We gave up 11 points in the semi-state championship game to a really, really good Scottsburg team the other day. But they got stops, and they went out and they ran, and it helped us build a significant lead there in the first half. But you'll also see when, you know, I probably won't be taking timeouts if they hit a big three or they hit a couple shots because our guys are able to control the tempo as far as working the ball when we have to, getting touches, finding where the weakness is in the defense, and then taking a great shot that way. So we can kind of play, at two different levels, which I think that's what makes us dangerous right now.
So if I'd have told you in November this was going to be your mid-March schedule, late March, what would you have said to me?
I would have said this conversation probably wouldn't be happening on the radio right now, and I'd probably be on the beach in Florida on spring break.
But you'll take this over the beach, right?
Yeah, I will. That's coming soon here. We've rescheduled that. But no, I mean, we felt we had the talent to do this stuff, but I mean, we're 20-8 right now. We were 12-8, and it was a point in the season where we're like, man, are we just going to be able to finish with a winning record this year? And, the guys stayed the course. We have multiple guys who can hurt our opponent. We have 3 guards right now, Jack Sherry, Rob Sorensen, Kamea Chandler. They're absolutely unbelievable. And if one of them gets taken out, then the other 2 are going to step up. And then junior Dylan Morans is probably going to be one of the most athletic kids on the court who can score in bunches. And then sophomore Bryson Cardinal, who started JV for the first 8 games of the season, we inserted him in the starting lineup. And his IQ and his energy has taken this whole group to another level.
And with that, when you have a player, I would think sometimes, Coach, that I could see why intimidating is the wrong word. Bobby Allen's our guest, by the way, the head coach at Guerin Catholic. When you have a player whose father played, as Cardinals did, at the big-time Division I level and in the NBA, what's that dynamic like in the fact that, do the parents get hands-on, or do they kind of understand? Has Brian Cardinal been like, hey, you're the coach, I get it. He seems like he'd be that kind of guy, but, what's that dynamic like?
Our parents are incredible. They fully understand what we're trying to do, and they support our coaching staff. But I don't know everything there is to know about basketball. But I think that they see, from our coaching staff, our passion and our love for all these kids, and they trust us, which is important, I think. But no, I mean, they're incredible. He lets us, on all of them, they let us do our job. And it obviously helps when you're winning a little bit. Makes you look like you're making the right calls. But it's fun to see people like Brian and some of our other parents who just are incredibly successful human beings. It's fun to see them in the stands supporting what we're doing right now.
I will end with this, and we are, I guess we got about a minute or 2 left, but I know 2 people that have been instrumental in your coaching career, Linda Bamrick and the great late, unfortunately late, Rich Andrill. Just what did you learn from those state champion coaches that you've tried to apply to accomplishing that tomorrow night?
They've both been there. They've both been in state finals. They've both been in tough situations where things aren't going their way. Just the ability to pivot and stay the course and really stay focused on the kids and getting them in the right place at the right time, doing the right things. Obviously, Linda Bamrick is my aunt. Just been incredible to have her and my whole family involved in all of this. I mean, my parents have been at every game. They're the biggest fans that I think we have. My wife, my kids, all their fans. My wife's going to be sitting with a whole crew of people in the stands tomorrow. It's fun to look in the audience and see all those people supporting you and knowing that you're doing things the right way.
See a purple and gold inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse tomorrow night. Still not over. The Knightstown outing will never be over it, to be honest with you. Bobby Allen, thank you for everything comp-wise, and I'm rooting for you tomorrow.
Thank you guys so much. We can't wait for tomorrow.
It's Coach Bobby Allen right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Again, Guerin and Northwood at 3A. And, Jake, that 4A game, boy, I know we can be prisoners of the moment. I can't recall a 4A game with this type of anticipation for an individual player in a town like Kokomo and an undefeated team in Ben Davis in quite some time.
Yeah, I think I'm really fascinated by the Ben Davis. Not to take anything away from the kids of Kokomo outside of Flory Benunga, but he is so good and so dominant. It kind of reminds me of like when Sean Kemp's Elkhart Concord team, which was a really good team. I mean, they had Jamar Johnson that had a great career at Nebraska, but that Muncie Central team was so good, and obviously had Chandler Thompson as well. There was a lot of talent in both areas, but you had such one dominant player that focus was on that, and then Muncie Central as a team. it being the one that end up winning it. So I'm curious to see what happens in that. Ben Davis going for the undefeated season, Flory going for the dynamics of it. It's going to be fun to watch.
Southwood and Lutheran, the Class A, Blackhawk Christian and Lytton in 2A. We'll have all those games, and we'll recap all of it, plus the Final Four will be here coming up on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Talk to you then.
The Ride with JMV.
He is Dusty May, the head coach of Florida Atlantic. Do you pinch yourself a couple of different times knowing where you have been and where you're going right now with this team?
Like I've told several people, when you're in the eye of the storm, you don't have too much time to think about it. It's on to the next thing. We've got a lot of